PMSradio.org presents PMS, the Pugs Moran Show, heard each and every Monday through Friday, noon to whenever, right here at DeepElemonAir.com. Well, I know what you're saying. You're saying, hey, Pugs, I think you might be misleading us a bit there. Well, where the hell were you at noon today? Well, I know. There is so much going on, folks, that I just could not tear myself out of the Pugs newsroom to get here and do a quality show for you at the pre-mentioned time. Now, actually, Jedi's feeling very sick. He's very sick. Poor guy. He thinks food poisoning. Yeah. Well, and I said, how'd you get food poisoning? He said, I got sushi. Now, I had just suggested a sushi place the other day, Hypnotic Sushi, which I really like. And I was concerned that he was going to, say, oh, I tried that damn sushi place. No. He goes, I bought sushi. I go, where from? He goes, Tom Thumb.
Why not just buy your sushi at a gas station, for God's sake?
Right? Yeah. I'm like, well.
I'll have some wiper blades and some sushi.
I immediately thought, I don't even think you could win that lawsuit. I don't think they'd err on your side. I think they'd say, well, duh.
Yeah. Caveat emptor, buyer beware.
So poor Jedi, he's recovering. I definitely wanted to get a show on today just because of the week that was, or the week that is. Jesus, it's only Friday, or almost Friday.
Yeah, not even.
We've already had... Sunday when I went to bed, North Korea was going to launch nuclear missiles. On Monday, they blow up the Boston Marathon. On Tuesday, my president and a senator get sent letters covered in ricin. On Wednesday, the town of West Texas blows up. And today, Chicago is underwater. What the hell is going to happen tomorrow? I mean, what is going on here?
A plague of locusts is for tomorrow.
I mean, is this the crazy... let me take a moment here and introduce you to everybody that we've assembled. First of all, our Boston expert... a guy who I'm going to say, first and foremost, in the spite... Rich Hancock, everybody. Rich Hancock. Say hello.
My friend, how are you?
Dude, you were on the show the other day. Rich is a Boston native. He's got connections within Boston authorities. He had sources from somewhere in Boston that have been absolutely unimpeachable throughout the whole run of this. We all talk about how crazy the media has been. This guy right here has been dead on everything. His source, everybody in there. You got a brother who's on the SWAT team. You've been getting all these great tips.
Wow.
Yesterday, when the entire world was saying that they've arrested a guy, everybody, CNN, Fox News, everybody is talking about it. Rich Hancock sat here on the phone. No, you were on the phone, I believe.
Yeah, on the phone with you.
On the phone and said, Pugs, I got to stop you. That is not what my sources are saying. And I said, geez, and this is at 1:30 in the afternoon. This is when it was a foregone conclusion that they had a guy. Yeah. This is what the entire world believed they had a guy. He's saying, no, it's not true. And I'm thinking, come on, Rich. You can't be this wrong. What are you not looking at that we're all looking at on the... And I kept asking you, I kept saying, you kept trying to get me to say, Pugs, acknowledge that it's not a fact that they got somebody. I'm like, but Rich, it looks like it. We sat here and Jedi read a story from Yahoo that purported to... something about a courthouse being cleared for an imminent hearing, special hearing. Well, we all assumed must be for that.
And in fact, it was a bomb threat. They cleared it for a bomb threat.
The whole time, all day long, in the face of Fox News, in the face of CNN, in the face of everybody, what were you saying? That
they did not have anyone in custody. And this is based on just, my kid brother is a member of the Boston Police Department. He's on the Boston SWAT team. He said, if these guys, if anyone were being brought into either the police station or to a federal building, you would have known it by the presence. And he said, it's business as usual here. If there is a guy who has just blown up the Boston Marathon in the Boston Police Department in custody, no one knows it. And that's the kind of thing that no one doesn't know in a police department. So, I mean, that was just my eyewitness at the BPD saying they don't have a guy. They just don't have him.
And it was right, and I thought you were insane. So, Rich, we're gonna take what you say.
It's not the first time you've thought I was insane. So,
a little more seriously than maybe I did in the past. Stanton Brasher is also joining us. Hi, Stanton. Stanton from DeepElemonAir.com.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
In light of everything this week, I'm good.
All right. Well, that's good. I'm glad you could be here. We've also got the Dallas Observer Dallas Comic of the Year, Paco Worth. Clint Paco Worth. Hi, Clint.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm not calling you Clint. I'm sorry.
That's my Christian name, Pugs.
Yeah, I know that for some career reason you seem to be streamlining yourself back into Clint. You're always going to be Paco to me. You're just
Yeah,
Paco.
well, I don't have a problem with people calling me Paco. It's just on stage, people somehow manage to butcher my name every single time.
Paco?
Weird combinations. No, they'll call me Clint Paco, which I think is the weirdest combination of two names ever.
Paco.
And then I got walk on stage. Yeah, that's me. I'm the guy with the silly name.
But doesn't Clint Paco sound like some hack comedian?
Yeah, it does. It sounds terrible. So.
He's also the face of the religion, the pseudo religion, the slack Gnostic. We decided to come up with this generic agnostic slacker kind of a thing, and I drew up a picture of the dude from The Big Lebowski, and somebody said, "No, make it a little more like Paco." So it turned out to be Paco.
It's not that he doesn't know; it's just that he doesn't care.
I say he's the illegitimate child of Greg Allman and Roseanne Barr.
True story.
You know, it explains a lot about him. From the highly rated, the much talked about Sunday afternoon show,
That's right.
Hungover with V, we've got V with us. Hi, V.
Hey, how's it going?
Thank you, too, for coming
Oh,
in and doing
boy.
this.
Just unplug something.
We are, this is what happens. I was just going to pay her a compliment for, yeoman's duty while Jedi is down. And as I was getting the compliment out, she's like, oh, geez, I disconnected something. So,
Hey, it's her first time on the board, though.
what do you think that went to? What do you think?
I got it.
She's right now just
I got
holding a
it.
cord that used to be plugged into something.
All right, you know what? It is a hangover show, so I'm drinking most of the time before Sunday. So there you go.
Today you got the Whataburgers going.
I got the
Jimmy Ryan, we wanted to talk to him straight out. Has anybody made contact with Jimmy Ryan? Former, actually, what Jimmy Ryan is now is like a Reddit freak. He's all over that stuff.
He's always been that way, though. Jimmy's a bit of a nerd. He's the nerdiest nerd of all of us.
What are you saying, Del from Del OL? What are you complaining about?
Sorry, I don't get no credit or no love for being a Redditor as well. Jimmy and I are both been hitting up the Reddit for years
right.
now.
Jeez, desperate much? Look at that. Mommy never hugged you? What is that about?
I'm sure she would have.
All right.
I have a whoopee in my car you can borrow.
Special thanks to Del from the Del OL Show, also here at DeepEllimonair.com. Helping us get on the air. All right, I guess we wanted to try and talk to Jimmy Ryan if we could get him, because he had some really great story that he passed on to me just as I was walking out the door. Rich Hancock, why don't you bring us up to speed? What are you hearing out of Boston on your sides? And I guess the big development today. Tell us about that.
Well, the big development today was that at the FBI press conference, they did, in fact, release photographs of two young men who appear to be of nondescript ethnic origin, but two men in their 20s, and they're the people that are the people of interest at this point, not according to conservative talkers who are still trying to get the Saudi kid who got injured.
Okay, but aren't these just as good? Because I got to tell you, I looked at these pictures, and I knew once they unveiled it, the FBI had a press conference about 5 o'clock tonight or something. They had these two big easels up on the stage, and the easels were covered with like black draping or something. So we knew they were going to unveil some picture when the press conference started. I was very excited because I knew one thing. My opinion as to whether or not this was domestic or international could very seriously be solidified right now. When I see these pictures of these people, I'm going to absolutely know whether this is some crazy mountain man redneck or if this is some sort of international jihadist. I'm going to know. Rich, they showed me the picture, and I still don't know for sure.
This
This
is what's making Glenn Beck's head explode at this hour,
tell.
is that he can't say, look at the Muslim that they're trying to hide. In fact, right-wing talk radio is still trying to pin it on the Saudi kid who got injured, who was actually injured in the bomb blast, who was whisked out of the country for his own safety. And it was Michael Savage on the air just moments ago saying, here's the conspiracy now that Obama is protecting the Saudi kid because he's got ties to Al-Qaeda. Why? Well, his name is similar to a bunch of other guys. They're desperate. So, well, you know what? There's the right is saying that the left is desperate to blame the lone wolf teabagger up in New Hampshire, and the left is trying to say that the right is trying to blame it on the Muslim conspiracy worldwide.
Man,
so
I don't care.
Well,
I just want to know who it is, Paco.
The immediate reaction to it, all the speculation seemed just as polarized as anything else in this country. With my more left-leaning friends and people I follow on Twitter, oh, well, it's Patriots Day, blah, 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 making these really weak connections.
I absolutely
And then on
thought
the
it
other
was
hand,
domestic.
the right wing immediately went with Muslims. This is
Right.
You know,
But see, are they weak connections though, Paco? Because we look at what happened on September 11th. You know, the Bahrain. No, I'm sorry. The Benghazi assault that killed a U.S. ambassador on September 11th. They make immediate direct ties to that, and the Benghazi controversy was going to bring down Obama before the election, if you remember. But of course, it didn't. That natural tendency to make those connections, and I blame myself. I did the same thing the other day. You know this, Pugs, when we were talking about it on the air. I thought to myself, what do all these factors, Patriots Day, in Boston where the Tea Party happened, Tax Day, April 15th, the anti-tax, bloodthirsty shut-ins that want to, don't want, if we just didn't have to pay any taxes, everything would be great. I thought that profile fit a particular
but I think it's
motivation.
It's part of a bigger problem, which is the automatic speculation, which between people, not such a bad thing. The way our media does it is insane. Like, so much information gets thrown out there as news that's not based in any facts.
That was the
It's-
cluster F that occurred yesterday. Stanton, when you saw these guys, these two gentlemen who were revealed by the FBI as prime suspects number 1 and number 2, what did you think immediately? I'm trying not to be a profiler or whatever. I don't know what they are. Here's what I know. I know my grandpa wouldn't have called them white. I know that. That's all I know. But I can't go any further than that.
Well, they very well could be white guys with dark hair and tans. Before they got before they went and made the bomb, they were chilling on the beach with some reflectors, I guess, trying to make themselves look darker. I don't know. They don't look straight up white, but they don't necessarily look Middle Eastern either. They could be either or. They could be
Italians. They could be Mexicans, man.
Yeah, Mexicans,
I don't know what I'm
Greeks.
looking at
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
But I know they're not blonde. I know
They're definitely not. They're definitely not.
They're not. They don't look like Bubba's.
That's true,
They're
but
not Hitler's
but
children.
you know what?
No.
But what would their being white or their not being white automatically make them? That's the point. That's why the Saudi kid was whisked out of the country. That's why the whole big right-wing conspiracy is, he was part of a terrorist cell and Obama got him out of the country because he's really a secret Muslim. No, there were people saying, this must be the guy. And we know that Washington Post was saying, this must be the guy. Eric Rush, the guy who's a commentator on Fox News, is the one saying, the Muslims hate us, kill them all. That
that
guy
the black
saying,
guy?
he must, yes.
Yeah, I
They're
saw him
saying
after you brought
he
him up.
must be the guy. The point is, what does the ethnicity and the color of these two particular kids have to do with what was going on in their heads? We know Andres Bering Breivik, the guy who killed all those kids was it Norway?
Sweden or wherever it was.
Yeah, in
Was it
Norway. In Norway.
Same thing.
Was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Knights Templar Christian radical extremist. But if you call him a Christian to an American Christian, they'll lose their minds. He's not a Christian. He's not a Christian. Well, that he fit a profile. These kids might fit some particular profile, but we don't know what it is, and we certainly don't know based on what color their skin is.
Yeah, I still have, of all the information that came out today, we can't say that it's a whole lot of information, but it's certainly more than we had yesterday. I don't know what I'm looking at there. Here's what I saw. I saw dark-haired young guys in their 20s. They had dark, bushy eyebrows. One of them had a very pronounced nose. I suppose that, what my inside is saying is, that kind of looks like an Arab. That looks more like an Arab than it does Bubba from Georgia. That looks more like a jihadist, or these things that we've been worried about for 10 years, these member of sleeper cells that are walking among us. That's what that looked like to me.
You know what the first thought I had was when I saw him?
What's that?
He looks like an Italian kid from the north end of Boston.
Yeah,
He looks like an Italian kid from the north end of
And,
Boston.
and remember, I sent you that picture of that Rockaware logo, which I don't necessarily think is the same logo that he had on the side of his hat, but it looks similar to it, which might suggest some kind of a hip hop culture with these guys.
Oh yeah, but you know what? That's kind of. Have you ever been in a club and seen a Persian guy?
No,
that's
totally.
How they dress.
I totally agree with you. But yeah, it could mean a lot of things. The fact that these aren't like the guys that, if they are Middle Eastern, if it is a part of a Middle Eastern terrorist plot, these aren't the same guys that were, I'm sorry to sound racist, putting on turbans and pulling out knives on airplanes. These are like Americanized guys.
You just said something that's really important. And Paco, I'm going to direct this towards you. He just said, I'm sorry to be racist. Is it right? I mean, look, I don't believe that every Arab in the world is out to kill us. And I
Absolutely
don't believe
not,
in
yeah.
prejudging everybody of Middle Eastern background. But I got a dog in this race about whether or not it's domestic or whether or not it's jihadist. But that
Why
dog,
do you have a dog though?
because it's all of us. Because the dog is us. Who's our enemy? We need to know who this is so that we
Yeah,
can
and their
appropriately
reasons for
get
attacking.
justice.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because the tentacles associated with whether or not it is a foreign plot are unfathomable.
Yes.
If it is a foreign plot, if it's not domestic in nature, then national security gets involved.
Guys,
federal
we got a
spending
call
on-
coming in.
All right, hold on. We'll get to it. Rich, you know when I saw them, and this is what I want to say, and this is, I think, the big balloon we're all ignoring in the room. Man, the one guy looked Iranian to me. What if they were Iranians? What does that mean for us, the United States of America? Do we have to go back? Do we now have to go to war? What if it's Iranians posing as Jews trying to get Israel? I mean, it's
Yeah.
so complicated.
9/11 was Saudi nationals, but where did that lead us to?
Iraq.
Iraq.
Exactly. Yeah. No, excellent point. Pugs, that's exactly the point that needs to be made here, that we're desperate to find who did this and why.
We need to let the FBI do their job, though.
Exactly.
And here's the thing: is we're all going to the usual suspects, but no one ever thought, like, what's the significance of the Boston Marathon? Like, why did they choose that as a target?
It's
You know,
an international
like-
event. It is predictable. You
Gentlemen,
can plan around it.
Hold on, let me ask a question. Do we have to immediately pick up the phone and then talk? Oh, well, then answer it, put them on hold, and I'll say, let's go to the calls. I mean, what's going on? I'm like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought we had to pick it up immediately and start talking. I was like, no, okay. No, we're good. Thanks. I'm sorry, Del. You're doing a great job, and I do appreciate it. This is the first time we've all worked together. He doesn't know my hand signals. That's the problem. Paco, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
But, you know, we look at all the past attacks. There's always something symbolic to it. 9/11 was symbolic of the United States as the financial center of the world, as the source, the fuel of the great Satan. That's why
Well, and the World Trade Centers
Yeah.
that they tried to blow up before.
Exactly.
So-
And then you look at guys like the anti-tax guys. It's tax day. Usually they would crash an airplane into the tax building or blow up a government building or go after.
Right.
There's something random about it, which, I mean, to a certain extent, a terror attack is supposed to cause panic and terror, but there was no specific target other than the fact it was a big event.
You're listening to HireAHero.org's special edition of PMS, the Pugs Moran Show, heard each and every day at noon. Check us out here at DeepElemonair.com. One of the things that I said on Facebook today, my Facebook page, John Pugs, is, you know, it seems like they reveal these pictures, and they're obviously putting them out to the public because they want our help.
Yeah.
You know, I would have loved to have seen every network, every channel put that picture in the lower corner. Let's have it up, because there are going to be Americans who aren't going to see that. They're gonna, unless it's on, you know, during the celebrity diving or something. I mean, we need total saturation, and we've got people, you know, junior sleuths out there right now. Everybody thinks they've got this code cracked. The kids at Reddit, the kids, those kids over there at Reddit.
It's accurate.
It is, because they're younger than me. They seem to be on something, and let's go to our senior Reddit correspondent here at DeepElemonair.com, Jimmy Ryan. Jimmy, are you there?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Jimmy, welcome to the show.
What's up?
Can you hear me all right, Jimmy?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, can you give me a little bit more, man? There we go. All right, tell us about what's going on, and tell us about the Reddit situation. Well, what is this story that's breaking out on there?
Well, essentially, there's been a subreddit ever since the bombing took place. There was basically the subreddit was Find the Boston Bombers, and ever since, like, you know, it all took place, they've been trying to collaborate with like a lot of different pictures, videos, and things like that that they could find on YouTube and all over the internet. And you know, sometimes they would have altogether they had about 5 different people that they were pretty much down to. And because the FBI had talked to a couple of them and said that they were supposedly innocent, that was taken off. And then obviously today, when the official photos came out, it became pretty easy because it was pretty much narrowed down to 3 at that point. And so they ended up taking that picture and running with it, and now there's probably about 30 or really clearly shown that they still, you know, they haven't gotten to it on the news. I guess that's because the FBI has said not to use any photos other than what they've, you know, shown off. So,
Well, I'm seeing a lot of pictures of the person who they think might be, and by they I mean, what is that echo? Can we do something about that?
That's unfortunately. It looks like that's what's. Is there another?
What if we killed everybody's mic except for me and Jimmy while we're talking? That might work. That didn't work. All right. So anyway, tell me about this guy, this one guy who seems to be off the grid and seems to have
Right,
gone missing.
Well, essentially, he mid-March he went missing, and basically ended up giving the family a bad feeling apparently, because the family's been looking for him very viciously. Even got the FBI involved apparently, because if you do a search for the guy's name, a lot of different news agencies all over the U.S. Were running this story, along with the fact that the FBI has been looking for him. And then actually in the last 10 minutes, I did a little bit more research, and I found out that there was a few bombs that were blown up in Providence, Rhode Island, and immediately afterwards the family ended up going into Providence and apparently looking for him. So, and that's directly on his way from Brown into Boston.
So this guy, this is the guy, Sunil Tripath, right?
What's that?
What is going on here? What is that?
Getting the person calling in on the line.
What's that?
Someone's calling in on the other line.
Oh, so that's what that noise is. Wow, that is an awful noise. Yeah. That noise is just really an awful noise. Jimmy, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
All right, we need to close that doors. The echo is really bad. We need to close those. And everybody's mic needs to be turned off when they're moving, okay? Or doing other things, because they're picking up everything, okay? All right, good. Well, we'll get through this. There's a lot of people in here. We just need to...
Remember when we used to have cough buttons?
Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. What are they saying now on Reddit? Are they pretty sure that this is the guy? Or do we have any concerns that, we've got another example of being Arab in the wrong place?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that, this is a 99.9% thing. You've got, essentially what he did was, he was at Brown University and was going for philosophy. At the last second, starting in January, he decided that he was going to go in for chemistry, and the family didn't feel that he was very stable at the time. And around April 15th, March 15th, he left a very, very short note, basically asking them not to look for him, and left all of his belongings, including his ID, wallet,
See, now
all
this
these different things.
this is what I find most interesting about the story. This guy seems to have completely vanished and left everything. ID, he's gone completely off the grid. And he looks
Right.
strikingly like the guy in the white hat. And he lives in Providence. I mean, I don't want to form a lynch mob and go, right off into the hills after this guy. But could this be the new way we catch people? I mean, we've really never had a nationwide manhunt with something like Reddit or Twitter or Facebook.
It's interesting, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's what. As soon as I saw the pictures, I started looking up, trying to find logos. Like the newscasters kept talking about, do you recognize this logo? Do you recognize this hat? Do you recognize this shoes? So I mean, that's what I did, and I can imagine millions of people across America were doing that today. So it makes sense.
Hugs, I was going to say a lot of companies actually, it's almost called
The number one
crowdsourcing.
thing-
Hold
that
on,
I'll
Jimmy.
say-
Hold on a
Okay.
second, Jimmy. Go ahead, Del.
Well, I was going to say it's almost like a lot of companies are doing where they're crowdsourcing. Rather than putting a few individuals who are highly trained on something, they use the masses to be able to produce something. And in this way, you could have hundreds of thousands of people looking for a person who may not
Yeah.
be technically qualified, but they can then turn over that information to somebody who is.
Jimmy Ryan?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that basically if you, it kind of stinks about the pictures that are available from the actual scene is that they're a little bit, obviously not very clear. But then you can, if you really zoom in, especially with some of the clearer pictures that have been posted on Reddit and now are starting to get circulated a little bit more around the internet, as odd as it sounds, like you can really tell the difference between, like with the way that his ear is shaped. Because there's a lot of side pictures, and when you take those and then basically put them all up against the very clear ones that are on his Facebook page and his missing page, it gets very clear all of a sudden, between that and, some of the other characteristics that he has, including the nose, obviously. So, I mean, it's one of those things where you'd almost have to explain how that's not him before not thinking that it's somebody else.
Here's what the
So-
Facebook page, which already has almost 6,000 likes on it. Brown undergraduate Sunil Tripathi has been missing from his Providence apartment since early Saturday morning, March 16th. Please call the Providence police at, and then it gives the number, if you've seen him or have any information. We are very worried. This is the Facebook page that was put up by people who are concerned about him, and the Redditors found that, oh, wait a second, there's this curiously missing Arab guy in a bedroom community. Well, what is Providence to Boston, Rich Hancock? It's pretty close, right?
Providence is. I have no mic. So.
Yeah, here, there you go.
Providence is the largest city in Rhode Island, so it's where Brown University, Johnson and Wales College.
But how far from Boston?
It's about 30 miles, 30 or 40 miles.
It's
from
Frisco.
Yeah.
So it's really, that's it. Okay, so that's
Think about how small New England is by comparison. It's not like Texas where it's 8
okay.
hours.
So
to
he's
Corpus.
local. He's curiously missing. He's Arab. He's the right skin tone. That's kind of the skin tone. I'm looking at the Facebook page of him right now. Paco, what do you think?
It's back to what I said earlier. Why don't we let the FBI?
Because the
Do their
FBI is
job.
asking us to help. This is what
But
the
here's the thing:
FBI
when you're
asked us.
putting it out there like that, what's gonna?
But you don't think they anticipated that? What the FBI doesn't know about Facebook and Twitter? I mean, that's why they asked us to
What
help.
happens when some meathead from Saudi cracks him upside the head with a brick,
Well-
and then they don't never find out why he did
and,
it?
and there you go.
That's a
And
really good point.
That is a great point, and that is why I'm extreme. It is a good point because there are whack jobs out there who will now
It's not
start
even a whack
profiling.
job. That's like, hey, this asshole blew
Look-
up the Boston Marathon.
Right. Well, but what if it's not him? What if it's the wrong guy? We
Also
can't have
that.
vigilantes out there, and that's why I'm saying that's a whack job. The problem with going about it that way is the FBI is basically saying that they're desperate. If they're putting it out to us and they know that this could lead to public square lynchings and all this, they're desperate. They want help. They know the window is closing and this guy could get out if he's still here, Rich.
Whether or not they're desperate, I think that what it absolutely does say is that they need to cast a wide net, because the more time passes between the event and they're setting up a specific a grid for a specific person, the easier it is for them to get overseas, get across the Canadian border, get into a shack in New Hampshire. These are realities. This is. You don't have to go to Ted Kaczynski land in Montana to disappear off the grid. You can go into the mountains in New Hampshire, which again is only 2 hours away from downtown Boston. So they've got to close the net quickly now. And desperate may be a good word, but I think it's
It worries me.
I think it's thorough right now to say, we see these guys. These are the people of interest. You got to help us.
And I would agree with Paco. Typically, if the FBI hadn't specifically asked us for help, but they are asking for help. They are saying, circulate these pictures. Let's see what information we can get. We want to know anything. So, in light of that, I agree with Pugs. They probably are desperate, but this is a chance for us to, for people to do their part.
It could be extremely effective, but it tells me that they might be a little bit desperate, and that worries me. Paco.
Some of the stuff before the FBI came out and said these were the two guys, some of the stuff they were doing on Reddit was kind of scary vigilante mob, where they were looking through everything, and anyone who was suspicious, they were figuring out who that person was, posting links to their Facebook pages online, finding information about people that were wearing a backpack at the Boston Marathon.
Better or worse than the New York Post?
Oh, God, that's...
the New York Post had a guy ready to be strung up 2 hours
The New
after
York
the bomb
Post
went off.
is
And they said,
more
400 people
systematic
died.
and
The New York Post is a Rupert Murdoch publication. In the words of the great Mike Royko of Chicago, no self-respecting fish would want to be wrapped in it. It's a piece of crap.
That's why he left, yeah. All right, do we say goodbye to James? Did we lose, not James, Jimmy Ryan, or is he still there? Oh, go ahead,
What's
Jimmy.
that?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, I think that when you're talking about a social news site, you're talking about people and social media. The whole point of it is that you aren't supposed to be able to contain it. It's up to whether or not you want to go out and publish it, which the New York Post did. And when it comes to the FBI, just today, they're releasing these pictures in hopes that we're going to be able to help, when meanwhile they have been looking for this guy for over a month now. So I mean, like they truly did need help in determining exactly what was going on. Now, if they were able, surely when they made the announcement, they knew who he was already, because they were looking for him. They already had tons of pictures of him. The parents were obviously worried about when those bomb blasts went off, the tests that went off at the beginning of April. So I mean, like, these are all things that they knew that was going on. I think that holding Reddit to a higher standard is kind of, not really pointing to, it's not really making the right point. I mean, really, Reddit was just picking up where everybody else was leaving off. And then all of a sudden, publications decided to take some of that stuff and post it. I think that's where it goes wrong.
All right,
vigilante justice, nobody was talking about doing anything to them. Everybody
But that's a concern. That's a legitimate concern when you talk about how high people's temperatures are revving lately.
Yeah, but, at some point, we have the Internet. That's the cat's out of the bag. I mean, what are we going to do, shut down the Internet every single time that a bomb goes off? No one talks about it.
No, but nobody's talking about that. I think what we're talking about is, what I'm asking is this the new way these things will be done, using these new forms of mass social interaction? Or, is this a bad thing, a dangerous thing? I think it shows that they're desperate, but I'm very intrigued to see how this newly connected community that we all live in. I mean, I don't remember the last time we had a nationwide manhunt for somebody in the Facebook, Twitter, Reddit era.
Yeah, I mean, the outcome of this will probably set a new precedence either way.
Yeah,
but you know what else we didn't have in the internet era, the Facebook, Twitter era? The Arab.
Oh, we lost his mic.
What the hell happened to my mic? We didn't have the Arab Spring before things like Facebook and Twitter. When you had spray painted on walls in Yemen, thank you, Facebook, because that's how people organized around state media that wouldn't let them talk. This interactive cyber community is going to be either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how
we
use it.
We have no idea what it's going to be.
We don't, and we won't until we all figure out how to use it.
That means play the music. We need to take we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Thank you, Jimmy Ryan. We're having some weird phone things. We got people trying to get in. We'll check back in with Jimmy if something else comes up on this. He's monitoring the moment-by-moment interactions of the Reddit community. Hopefully, if they find the guy, we'll know it right here. We'll figure that out. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to James Parker from WRNO Radio in New Orleans. He'll give us the conservative point of view. Actually, he's just a whack job libertarian who works for a conservative company. So we'll find out. That and more. Yeah, he's like one of these Rush Limbaugh stations. All right, we'll talk to him when we come back. It's PMS on DeepElemOnAir.com.
I said my feet won't touch the ground, so lay your head down. Lay your head down on me. I will rest now. Won't feel no stress now. I'm high like the moon now, and I will wait for you to protect me. Kill who's against me. I'm high like the palm tree. I wanna make love to you. I said my feet won't touch the ground, so lay your head down. I said my feet won't touch the ground, so lay your head down. Lay your head down on me. In the clouds I lost you, baby. In the clouds I lost you, baby. We all get lonesome here. We all get lonesome. We all get lonesome. We all get lonesome. I said my feet won't touch the ground, so lay your head down. I said my feet won't touch the ground, so lay your head down. Lay your head down on me. In the clouds I lost you, baby. Beautiful
HireAHero.org presents PMS The Pugs Moran Show. This is My Wooden Leg. They're getting ready to wrap up this little song right there. Thank you, guys. Before that, Loyal Sally and Black Keys, I believe. Lonely Boy was what we played before that. Again, it's a special broadcast of HireAHero.org presents PMS The Pugs Moran Show, typically heard around noonish each and every day right here at DeepElmOnAir.com. We've gathered together a group of people associated with the station. Also, Dallas Observer Comic of the Year, Clint Paco Worth. Hey, Clint, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Paco. Why did I call you Clint? We've also got Rich Hancock of Rational Broadcasting, a noted liberal voice of years and years here in the DFW community. Hi, Rich. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure, buddy.
Stanton Brasher as well joins us from DeepElmOnAir.com. Hi, Stanton.
Hey, how's it going?
And again, V. We've got V from Hungover with V, Sundays, right here on DeepElmOnAir.com. Hi, V. Thank you.
Hello, thank you.
And Del too. But you're lurking and yelling information off mic, so we'll hear from you in a minute. We'll get to it. All right, we're talking about pretty much anything. It's a cluster F sort of conversation concerning everything that's occurred in Boston over the last couple of days. A friend of mine's on the phone here from WRNO Radio in New Orleans, Louisiana. Let's say hi to James Parker. Hey, James, are you there? Do we have you?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. All right, first of all, thank you for being on the show. What are you guys talking about as far as this whole Boston thing goes? What is the narrative going on at Rush Radio down there in New Orleans?
See, well, we've made a little bit of fun of this. Not that this is something to laugh at, but everyone's reaction is what we're paying attention to. And what this has turned into is the world's biggest game of racial bingo. And I don't know if you're familiar with that game.
Yeah.
We do it on our show. We have a bunch of the clips on YouTube. It's pretty popular. We read you some really screwed up story in the news, like your Floridian segment.
Sure.
But the trick is you have to guess the race of the perp, the protagonist of the story. Or
okay, all right, that could be fun.
So right now, we're playing racial bingo, but we're just upfront about it. Everyone's doing this game in their head. We're just actually saying it, and everyone's nodding along. We've ruled out everyone, all races and ethnicities except for white dudes. This can't even be a white chick. We've narrowed it down to white dudes.
Yeah, all right.
Or a Muslim of some sort. Because like the underwear bomber was a black dude, but he was a Muslim. And the DC snipers were black, but they were Muslim. So it colors out of it. It's either Muslim or white dude.
Well, why is it either Muslim or white dude? I mean, couldn't they be Italian or Greek? And, by my grandpa's standards, again, those weren't white dudes. I mean, why not just Italian or white dude? You seem to drift towards the Muslim. What is it about them that makes you think that they could be Middle Eastern? Because they do not have the typical, or should I say traditional, I don't want to be offensive. Whatever that skin tone is that you have if you grow up in that part of the world. They do seem a bit light-skinned, do they not?
Yeah, I'm not even looking at the pictures. The pictures don't matter. The pictures will fall into place. We still haven't narrowed it down. It still could be a Muslim. It still could be a white dude. Because, the Shane from Walking Dead was just a totally normal white dude, but he could look like a Muslim in a blurry picture in the middle of downtown Boston.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you. Are white guys still in play, Paco?
Yeah, there's that the guy.
Could this be a white? This could be a white dude.
Well, no. If we're talking about Muslim, it could be anybody.
No,
you don't have to be an Arab to be a Muslim. There's Muslims in China. There's Muslims in Russia.
Middle Eastern in appearance, I think. Rich Hancock?
Can I be the liberal in the room for a second here and say...
Strange it in this room you would be, but go ahead.
Jesus H. Christ on a popsicle stick. Are you guys all frigging insane?
Well, tell us why
Do you know what a Muslim is?
Yeah,
it's a billion frickin' people of every race and color and size and shape. There are blonde, blue-eyed Muslims everywhere. When we say a Muslim, we're not talking about a Middle Easterner. We're not talking about a region of the world. We're talking about a religious faith.
I believe
we're talking about a Muslim.
Paco knows dead on what he's saying.
I could sit here and
I
could sit here and be the left-wing reactionary and say, you know what? I see that kid's picture, and he comes from, I can barely hear it now. I see that kid's picture and I say, okay, he was in college in Providence and then he dropped out of school. You know what he is? He's a Ron Paul fanatic. He's a Ron Paul campus fanatic because he looks a little bit like some slacker jackwagon libertarian who hates the government. And I'd be completely out of left field saying that.
Now you're just taking shots at James Parker. How do you feel about him describing you as a wacko libertarian? Because
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, that's what I expected to say. It's all right. But I agree with his point on Muslims that we've intentionally left it open. He's right. It could be a white dude, so that picture means nothing. It could still be a Muslim, or it could just still be a regular white dude. I'm pretty much in agreement, except for his description of me. But
I didn't describe you, James. I described that
was me. I started it.
He could be a white Muslim. That's my point. When we're saying, he might look a little like a Muslim. You don't know what a friggin' Muslim looks like.
You're right. We're wrong. We're using the wrong word. It looks Middle Eastern. How's that?
Okay,
Is that fair?
works. That can work.
You're right. It's less pejorative. It's less. It's nasty considering.
But isn't that what we're going for? When was the last time a Middle Eastern carried out a non-jihadist related attack? When was the Christian Middle Eastern blowing up something?
Well, I can tell you right now.
Okay, me too. How about the Christian radical lunatics in Egypt?
Well, we're assuming the white guy is going to be a Christian radical.
Well,
absolutely.
The brown Christian Egyptians pulled off a bunch of crap after the fall of
that was
Mubarak.
in Egypt, though. We're talking about in America.
I can tell you a couple right now.
Christians, and they were getting their churches burned to the ground. That's what they were pulling off. They were getting slaughtered by the thousands.
No, I can tell you exactly.
Del from Del OL.
Look, when they had the one of the most, now they were able to be put off, and the FBI was able to catch it. But when they were going to bomb a bridge, that was 3 Christian white kids. Okay, when they bombed the Oklahoma City building, that was a white Christian dude. There have been numerous attempts that have been thwarted by the FBI over the years for plane bombings that were white Christians.
Of course they have been.
It doesn't, I'm not saying all terrorists are Muslim because they're not. 3 of the largest terrorist attacks in all of America, excluding 9/11, were Christian whites.
Exactly
I'm saying what I'm saying though is if the person we're looking for, if we've identified them as not white, because the white guy was the first option. We're going with the second one. We're gonna assume
I've
they're
identified
Muslim.
them as not white.
There's not.
I don't think they're white.
What if they are Iranian libertarians?
All right, they could be that. But
I'm throwing a flag on racial roulette here.
All right, go ahead.
But the point I was originally going to make is my favorite jihadist right now is this kid from Alabama who's on the lam, and he went and joined a terror cell, I believe, in Somalia or whatever, and they're trying to kill him too. But he was put on the list of most wanted in the United States, $5 million reward. He communicates through Twitter. His response to it was, "Hey, I'm kind of broke. How much for just a leg?"
You have a favorite jihadist.
He's got a sense of humor.
That is awesome.
We just had a good point off the air. What about the IRA? That's a worldwide terrorist group that's white Christians. What about ELF, the Eco-Liberation Front? That's white Christians predominantly, like 98% of them. Yeah. I mean, it's
Cylons.
Right, Cylons.
Same thing.
I mean, you may
Christians.
want to say that, but there's a lot of Ted Kaczynski. I mean, how many people just don't like America enough to take out, to do damage?
We included all those with the first one, which was white guy.
What's that?
All those things you announced, we lumped that all into white guy. We can go into more detail.
But that's not what happens, Paco. Is it a white guy or is it a terrorist? Because you automatically exclude white guys from being terrorists.
I excluded them from being Muslim. Because we said white guy or Muslim.
Hold on. Stop.
White guys from being Muslims.
Everybody stop. I thought up until they revealed this picture at 5, I was still going domestic. I was saying it was some guy in the woods in New Hampshire. Some Ron Paul libertarian crazy guy.
I still think they look white.
No, man. I saw these pictures and I went, man, okay, it's not conclusive. I
think they look white, straight up. Like me and my... Okay, I have a black girlfriend from Zimbabwe. We got a pretty wide range of bone structures that we look at every day between her family and my family. Both, first thing we thought, those are white college kids.
I got it, Pugs. I understand, Pugs, you're conflicted in your racial profiling.
No!
And I know how hard that can be.
I'm not conflicted at all. I think it's convenient at times. That's just me.
If you're drawing the 2 circles on the Venn diagram and it's white and Muslim, there's a very little overlapping part in there. It's not
Very little.
All right, James.
That was what James started with. That's what
James
Props
Parker.
for the Venn diagram, by the way.
You've sat patiently.
I didn't invent racial bingo. I just play by the rules of it.
James, you've sat patiently. Your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, y'all basically just summed up Wednesday's show. First 3 minutes. That's what we did for an hour.
All right, but
Wednesday.
I'm starting to feel like, I should feel guilty that I look at this picture with absolutely no racial malice and I go, it's not Crazy Cooter from the woods. It's somebody else.
Oh, they ain't hillbillies, I'll tell you that.
It looks like-
New
Yeah,
England
he looks very urbane
One of
for
the
the militia
dudes-
type.
spoiled college kids.
One of them looks like Jamie Farr. That's the only. I'm trying to think. What do they look like? Klinger. One of them looks like Klinger. That's the nearest I could come.
So you're saying this is an Israeli attack?
I don't know what he is.
Pugs
I don't
breaking
know.
the news was the Israeli attack
I don't
on America.
know. I'm just telling you what they look like to me. And
Looks like a Ron Paul college dropout slacker jackwagon. That's what it looks like.
All right, James, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to ask, isn't Ted Kaczynski an atheist? And Timothy McVeigh was an atheist when he did the bombings. He went on the record saying science is my religion, and then he converted to Christianity after he was on death
That's
row.
why we lumped them all in with
actually,
white guys.
James. Actually, that's
So it's
incorrect.
just
Actually,
white
that was incorrect. That was a statement that was falsely reported in 2 newspapers. He was Christian the entire time, Timothy McVeigh, and Ted Kaczynski has been religious his entire life. At one point, he said he thought about being agnostic and changed a few religions, but there's never been a certified record saying either one of those two were racist. Although that was popular, but people also said Hitler was racist, even though he was definitely
Here's
Christian.
what I do know about Ted Kaczynski. He grew up in the same neighborhood that I did, the south side of Chicago. He's from Evergreen Park. That is an incredibly Catholic area. You identify where you're from by your parish. So if he grew up there, I'm telling you he had a Catholic upbringing. His last name was Kaczynski in Chicago. He's a Chicago Polak. They're Catholic. He was raised with a religious background.
Oh, but
I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, don't tell a political conservative that any terrorist has ever been a Christian. Anders Behring Breivik in Norway is a radical Christian descendant of the Knights Templars, Christian warrior, self-described in his manifesto. But you say that to an American political conservative, they will lose their shit.
Well, we should make a clear distinction between
Norway
fundamentalist
is a bunch
groups.
of socialists.
Well,
They had it
we should
coming.
make a clear distinction
Hold on,
between
everybody, one at a time.
fundamentalists of any group. The KKK is a Christian group.
Absolutely
Period.
right.
They read the Bible. They believe everything they believe is in the Bible, and most Christians would not back the KKK.
The
most
Westboro
Muslims,
Baptist Church.
they
The
no,
Aryan
Yeah, well,
Nation,
you've got
all of
radicals,
these-
you've
Right,
got
exactly.
genuine
And there's
followers that
One at a
crazy in
time.
every group.
Okay, one at a time. I'm going to direct the flow of conversation here. Okay, James, anything in response? I am erring on the side of the guy on the phone because I want to make sure that his time is well spent. James, go ahead.
I am under no illusion that there's no such thing as a Christian terrorist. Absolutely, there's a Christian terrorist. I have no idea who y'all are talking to. I was just under the impression that Ted Kaczynski and Timothy McVeigh were not motivated by their religion.
And you're correct.
what
No,
I'm
they
saying?
weren't.
And
They were not.
The Muslim terrorists are motivated by their religion. That's why you have to leave it open just a little bit. Not say white Christian crazy. You just have to say white guy. We can exclude girls, but it's a white guy of some sort. He may be motivated by religious because there are the religious nuts. The Westboro Baptists, even though they haven't done anything violent, other religious people have. Or it could be an atheist, or it could be some guy out in the woods who doesn't give a shit about religion. So you got to leave the umbrella a little bit wider.
No pagan attacks.
White guy.
Rich
White
Hancock.
guy from Muslim.
So, James, have you ever been to a mosque or talked to a Muslim? I just happen to live in the area where the largest Muslim mosque in the Southwest is, and I've been there a half dozen times. I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic, Boston Irish Catholic. But I've gone and visited with those people, and to listen to them talk about their disdain and their disgust with the way their religion is dragged into the idiocracy of these terrorist groups. It's the same way Christians react to the Westboro Baptist Church or the KKK or any number of these radical extremist groups. So to say that the Muslim faith, by definition, is somehow conducive to terrorism is faulty in and of itself.
Have any of you guys, let me just ask this random question. Have any of you guys ever had in your travel group American Muslims? Have you ever gone, Austin? You
Absolutely.
have. What have you experienced? Because I had the pleasure of traveling with a couple of Pakistani friends of mine over Christmas holiday back up to Chicago to do some stuff. They're friends of mine. They are both American-born, both, Dallas area high school products. They're doormen at like fancy clubs, and they're normal guys every day. But I will tell you, there was definitely a difference the way they were treated on the airplane, and they would make jokes about it. I was having a problem with the seats, and one of them joked, "No, we don't draw any attention to ourselves." It's why do you complain about that? That's wrong. You paid for your. No, that's cool. We're just gonna. And I'm like, wow, and that really is because they're used to that. Rich, have you seen that occur?
My friend Mo Saeed, who's a lawyer in Richardson, Texas, who's a friend of mine, Mohammed Saeed. He's third generation American, but he's still got a very Middle Eastern sounding name. He also happens to be Muslim. The biggest difference between him and most of the other guys we know is that he doesn't drink. Well, I'm Boston Irish Catholic. I've drunk enough for everybody. I quit 7 years ago. I don't drink either. So the Boston Irish guy and the Muslim guy don't happen to drink, but the rest of our friends do. Yes, you get those different reactions to people because you hear a name, you see a color of a face, and this is a guy who's highly educated, a successful attorney, but he is treated as less because of it's as clear. And
how does he feel about that? Because I guess the point I was trying to make was that the guys that I traveled with, because they are Americans, they understand that the dice fell in a real shitty way for them, and there's a bunch of other people that look like them with similar names who are doing really bad shit, and it ain't them, and they just got to put up with it. Luck of the draw. They fit the profile, and they don't fight it. And
the same way our black friends walk around the mall and expect to see the Neiman Marcus security guard one row away watching what clothes he picks off the rack. That's exactly the same way they're treated.
So I'm in the comedy hip hop group Short Bus, and our DJ is a black dude, and we had a show in Alabama a few months back, and I was making a serious suggestion out of the welfare of the entire car that our black DJ ride in the back of our car where we have tinted windows.
Just in case.
This is not because
it's a reality.
This is because that's what they profile out there, and they gave me shit for weeks about it, saying that I'm so racist. But really, I was like, I don't want to be driving around.
I also think that word is being used way too much. Race. Most people are just bigoted, but there's a difference between racism, being a racist, and just being an ignorant bigot. Some people are just stupid. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. They're just stupid, and they need to be entertained, or I should say, educated. But a racist is somebody like the people that you were hiding from in Alabama.
Exactly, and that was my point. I was worried about him. I was worried about him getting in trouble. I was worried about us getting in trouble. And what was funny is after they gave me shit about it for 2 weeks, I read there was a news article about a black kid who got arrested in Alabama. And in the back seat, he just mysteriously got the cop's gun away from him and shot himself in the head. So he committed suicide with his hands cuffed behind his back, stealing the cop's gun. That's kind of a weird cover-up.
To tell you a quick story, and we'll go to you, Del. I'm sorry. This is the kind of racism that I grew up with. It was well known that if you were a black kid, the neighborhoods where I'm from were separated by an interstate. And if you were a black kid and you were caught on the other side of the interstate, and you were, the wrong color in the wrong time, what the police would do is they would pick you up. They would call their guys down at whatever bar, and they would say, hey, we caught one. And the cops would drive him to the corner where the bar is and let the black kid out. And then the cop would just go away. And that black kid would get chased all the way back to his part of town, or he got caught and ended up in the hospital. And that's just the way it was done. That's racism. Yeah. That's the kind of thing. These other things about making mistakes because you ignorantly profile someone, that doesn't make you a racist. And I think that's the word that causes all the problem. The minute you call a bigot a racist, and that bigot is never going to listen to anything you say again, we're throwing that word around. It's too explosive a word. Del, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, actually, I was laughing I was laughing at what Stan was saying. But I was going to say that, oddly enough, my last 2 serious relationships, I have been engaged to a Hindu. So not a Muslim, but yet you would be surprised how often we went out and people would give. Now, she was a lawyer at the age of 22. She had a doctorate. Yeah. now that's racism. But that's good. That's quality comedy racism right there. There's nothing wrong with comedic racism.
God, those
I firmly
people,
believe that.
They're so motivated.
Yeah. I firmly believe there's nothing wrong with comedy racism. But she had a doctorate at 22, but it was amazing how she was still treated slightly differently Just because, but oddly enough, when we go out with her family, the males got more respect and didn't have to take shit off people, but the wife and the daughter did. And even when, especially when we were in their community, it was even more gender biased. Like they would treat the women and the white dude, me, worse than they would treat anybody else. It was very odd. And then we went out and
You sure it's because you're a white dude and it wasn't just you?
there's a good chance it's just because I'm a dick.
Thinking, Bell.
But like most white dudes, but you,
right? And they wouldn't be wrong. They wouldn't. But my current long-term relationship is a black girl from Zimbabwe. So it's interesting because she's not American-born, American-raised. So she has a totally different mentality when it comes to what black is. For instance, she says she's African, and then when she becomes a citizen, she will be American. She'll never be African American. She hates the term African American. She hates when black people use the term African American.
You're not saying you got one of the good ones, are you?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying, Rich Hancock.
But the best part is,
God love him.
Yeah, but since she wasn't kind of brought up in this, she has a lighthearted sense about it because she comes from somewhere else where she never dealt with it, or if anything, the white people were kind of looked at weird for being out of place over there. And so she makes lots of racist jokes and lots of what you would see as inappropriate. You know, we'll be on a bus and she's like, well, I better just go ahead and scoot to the back.
She just goes along. Paco.
Look, I'm not going to say that white privilege doesn't exist and that I haven't benefited from it, but I know what it's like to be profiled because I get treated like a parking garage rapist. So I get it. It sucks, but it happens. You can't
Don't
help
hang around
it.
parking garages with rope. I mean, do
that is
yourself
so
a favor.
Yeah, that is unfair. You wait.
What's James doing?
Yeah, James, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Anything that you'd like to add here on the doings in Boston? I think we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll get into the whole West Texas stuff, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Have you been following that, James?
Yeah, and when I first saw the picture, I saw the check stop in the corner, and I thought, well, that's west, and the story was reporting north of Waco. So it kind of felt close, even though I'm far away. It's like, oh, man, that's kind of my neck of the woods.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're here in Dallas and you've spent any time in Austin, my son lives in Austin now, so I'm back and forth all the time. That's our place. That is everyone in it's one of those halfway there kind of destinations. You always figure we got enough gas, we'll refuel at the check stop, we'll get some food, we'll use the bathroom. Who hasn't used that fantastic bathroom? I'm always
it's a wonderful
surprised.
Bathroom.
It really is.
Outstanding.
Is it not? I'm always
Yes.
shocked at like how it's not this complete piss hole.
Wonderful food.
it's-
And the kolaches and
Yeah,
all
the
that.
kolaches. That's
oh yeah.
I owe 3/5 of my ass to Chick Stop.
So let's talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the coverage. Last night, it was kind of interesting, though. CNN, to their credit, they stayed live with that deep into the night. When everybody else had even bailed, CNN handed it over to their international crew. For them, it was noon. So they were just covering it like, it's a noon thing. But to have this, English woman keep saying that it was, she didn't get, and she obviously didn't have any producers who were Texans, she didn't get that it wasn't in West Texas, that the town was West Texas. Because she'd come back and say, again, we're monitoring the situation occurring in Western Texas. No! Somebody tell this English woman that the town is West. And they were doing it all through the night. And I also kept hearing people on MSNBC early this morning doing it. It's like, ugh.
Well, I'm from Amarillo, so it's been throwing me off too
Now that's
because
West
that's West
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
And so they keep saying West, and yeah, it took me about 30 minutes into it to stop making that mistake.
That was my Twitter joke today. That Rick Perry is on his way to give a speech in West Texas. He'll be speaking from Amarillo. That's my
There you go.
my Rick Perry joke. Thank you. Better response than on Twitter. All right, we'll take a quick break. Hey, James, I don't know if you want to hang around or not. You're willing to, or you're welcome to stay on the phone if you'd like, but we're going to take a quick break, okay?
Okay.
All right, we're not going to play that song again, are we? We just played it. What's going on
I
here?
was told to play that one, so guess what? I am overriding
once.
V's decision, and I am going with what I
You
want.
play it once, it's the theme. We've been playing it like a bunch of times. It's all right. That's cool. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with more. We're talking about the West Texas tragedy here on DeepElemOnAir.com.
Slowly, I walk through the door of a stranger's house. Write my note. Wanting to be outside where there's wind and the sun glows. Can you remember when I said I love you forever? Well, I do. Can you remember when I said I love you forever? Well, I do. Closely, I look at the pictures of laughing and playing and singing the melody. I love this song. And you're beautiful. Your face is burned into my mind. I see you, even when you're not around. Can you remember when I said I love you forever? Well, I do. Can you remember when I said I love you forever? Well, I do. Can you remember when I said I love you forever? Well, I do. But can you remember when I said I love you forever? Well, I do. Slowly, I walk through the door of a stranger's house.
Let's build up an army, a rebellion in defense. Declare war alarming. We're putting trends to death. Asha, oh, sha.
Tell us where to go to eat. They tell us not to smoke and when to sleep. Everything's exposing us to daily radiation anyway. They fabricate these money makers with their brands and gimmicks. They're racking up the deficit because they just had to get it.
We've disguised all of our army. We're just to blend right in. They'll never see us coming in our finest sheepskin. Asha,
just had to get it. It's them, they are not like us. Let's make them pay for this. They underestimate our strengths. For the 99% of us, survival equals anger times imagination. Build up your frustration. They tell us where to go to eat. They tell us not to smoke and when to sleep. Everything's exposing us to daily radiation anyway. They fabricate these money makers with their brains and gimmicks. They're racking up the deficit because they just had to get it. It's them, they are not like us. Let's make a pay for this. Don't ever tell us what to do, don't tell us what to think. We can make up our own minds, stop deciding everything. Oh, you can't make me. Oh, can't make us. You can't make us.
HireAHero.org presents PMS, the Pugs Moran Show. That's My Wooden Leg once again. Second song from them for the night. Before that, who was before that, V?
We had Loyal Sally before Stranger.
Loyal Sally
Little
and
Love.
Stranger. All right, very good. Rich Hancock is still joining us here. Very special edition of PMS. Haven't decided who's going to get molested on this very special edition. But one of you guys is going to go home
My vote is
Wait.
Paco.
with a smile or a frown, depending on your attitude.
I want to know who's doing the molesting. I'm in. I'm throwing my name in the hat.
I'm just saying, from the looks of things, it's going to happen from this side of the room.
All right.
It's going to...
Profiling.
Paco is with us as well. Hi, Paco.
Hey, Pugs, how you doing?
Stanton Brasher joining us as well from DeepElemonAir.com. Do we still have James Parker on the phone? Is James there?
James?
Yeah,
James-
I'm fantastic.
Okay.
Drinking a beer, I'm fine.
Good. James Parker appears courtesy of WRNO Radio, the afternoon show there in New Orleans. I wanted to play this. I wanted to give this a little bit of a listen. This is one of the more compelling things. There are a lot of compelling pieces of video and sound that was circulating and came out last night. What we're hearing here is these are the initial police and fire radio calls. Initially following the explosion. These are the first Mayday calls. This is where we'll hear things like firemen down, firemen down. This is some pretty heavy stuff. We all know now exactly how big this was. These are the immediate seconds following the explosion.
I am requesting you. They have firefighters now.
Exactly how big this was. These are the immediate seconds following the explosion. Why is it feeding back? What is going on there?
It sounds like somebody...
Dell just left. Now it's feeding back.
Do you have the show up on your computer? Might
Yeah,
be
it sounds
coming
like somebody's got the
sound
show
coming
up on
from-
their
Oh,
computer.
you know what? Maybe. Oh, you guys are so smart. I do. Okay,
Aha.
all right. So there you
Control
go. I'm
Alt-
sorry.
Yeah.
Here we go. Back to this. This is. I'm sorry. What county is this?
Hill County.
Hill? No, it's not Hill County. It's not what we were listening to. We were listening to West something county. I don't know. Whatever it is.
Responder dispatch. Fire going. Firefighters down. Again, there has been an explosion. There are firefighters down. The rest home has been seriously damaged. We have many people down. Please respond.
Can you hear the old people in the background at the rest home crying when that guy called in? We're at the rest home. We have many people down, and in the background you can hear like the old little grannies.
I'm getting you everybody I can. You have deputies, you have Bellmead Fire, you have EMS. I'm sending everybody I got. Water.
There's just no, as a taxpayer, there is no reason for that poor quality. what is going on there? Can we get these guys better radios? Let's skip ahead a little bit here, because this goes on for quite a bit. All right, here we go.
Last week asked to leave. He has left location at this time. Would like to make a report on the vehicle. Stand for me around.
St. Abbott route to west.
10-4, sir.
Elmont, quick attack to SO. Go ahead and show us en route.
So, everybody needs to get away from there. Back all trucks away from the power plant. Everybody needs to back off of all the N100 things. Everybody needs to get away.
I'm going to pause it. It goes on. There's a lot to it, but I'm skipping through it because there's a lot of these dead parts. There are parts, and I'm trying to find. There are parts where they call out to the people that aren't responding, and they're like searching for these people. They're calling out, unit blah 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 blah. Unit blah 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 blah. I mean, and they're just, and it's the most haunting thing because you hear the dispatcher calling out, trying to account for everybody that was there when it exploded, and it goes on and on and on. James Parker, you were in New Orleans. You were in New Orleans during Katrina, were you not? Did we lose James?
No, he should be there.
All right, well, I think we lost James.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry. I had it on mute, so I wasn't making any noise.
James, were you there during Katrina, or was that just before your time there?
No, I moved here right after Katrina. I moved here like 6-7 months after Katrina.
Waited for it to get nice, and then you moved.
Well, there were some job openings about then.
Yeah. I want to ask all you guys, where were you when this news broke for you? Because I was pretty bummed out that this Boston bombing suspect story had sort of pittered out, and I was just kind of watching TV, hearing the same damn thing over and over, and then this story just kind of popped up as like I thought a nothing story during like around 8 o'clock or 8:30 on CNN in their bottom of the hour, and here's what's going around the world. We're following a story developing out of Texas, but it was nothing. I thought nothing, and then like within the next 15 minutes. It became something.
Yeah.
And I went online and I found the police scanner for that county. And I was listening to the live police calls. I know it's really geeky, but I'm telling you, this is something I learned from Opie. Opie was talking about this on Opie and Anthony. The only way he was getting information that he thought was, at all unfiltered by the media was by listening to the policemen talk to one another. Yeah. Listen to the firemen talk to one another. And that's what I was doing last night. And I have to tell you guys, it was, Paco, I don't see if you were online, but did you see where I posted that link to that? I wanted people to listen to it. Did you get to hear any of it?
No, I was watching Netflix with my girlfriend and going back and forth between cleaning my apartment, so I didn't find out until about 11:30 when I was just checking my email and my Facebook before I went to bed. And then it just bummed me out. Like I couldn't go to sleep for a while. I turned on the TV.
It was amazing.
Local news.
It was amazing. It was unbelievable. The scanner traffic in the first hour of this thing was chaos. It was we were just listening to the first couple of minutes. Yeah. It's pretty calm, really. They're trying to figure out what it is. No, it does not stay that way. Within an hour and a half, they are screaming for people to please decide on an LZ because they had medevac helicopters that were circling because nobody knew where they could land. There was very poor communication. You had the Waco police somehow taking over, like they were deferring to the Waco police, and the Waco police had moved the command center, and you had these other policemen with bodies who were trying to get them to the hospital who had no idea where the triage unit was because they had moved it from the football field to some early on. I don't know if you saw any of the early pictures, but they had a football field in the middle of this town with the lights on that was completely covered in stretchers. It was just, and I'm not saying it's going to be covered in bodies, but they were ready for something that was nasty. And then because of the second tank that never thankfully exploded, about an hour after they set up this massive triage site at the local high school, they had to pick it up and move it. And for an hour after that, because of the scanner traffic, there were people delivering badly injured people to the old triage site, only to learn that it had moved halfway across town. I mean, it was unbelievable. That you had cops from all over. We were picking up scanner traffic from cops driving in from one cop was from Farmers Branch, and he was racing down all the way, and they had to put out a call. One of the Waco people said, look, all whatever agencies, all adjoining agencies, please stop where you are. You cannot get into the scene. There are too many people. So there were essentially police from all around the state sitting about 50 miles out just on the side of the road, just waiting for them to say, we need help. And some of them stay. I was reading a story today. One cop stayed there all night long. He didn't even go home till 10 o'clock in the morning, just sitting there waiting for them to say, we need more help. The problem, if you saw the helicopter shot, I have never seen anything like this, Rich. It was, everything was on fire, and everything that wasn't on fire was covered by a Mars light. I have never seen so many police vehicles, so many ambulances, so many fire trucks, helicopters everywhere. It was crazy. That was my impression. Stanton, tell me how you came about seeing this.
I was actually watching the Bible miniseries because I was bored. Yeah, I was from your post. I saw you post something.
Oh, you saw it on
about
Facebook?
Yeah, around 9:30 or so, I saw it and was just like, oh, there's a fertilizer fire, big deal. Watched another episode of the Bible miniseries and came back and saw people were like really tripping out about it. So that's when I started, looking more into it. And honestly, last night I had this urge to like jump in my car and drive out there and to see if I could help. But again, I knew they were going to, the highway was closed. What was I going to do? So I didn't. But
I've never seen anything even remotely close to it, other than to say, like when a town in Missouri gets hit by a tornado. It seemed. I mean, it just seemed like, and I'll tell you, Paco, I'm going to ask you to comment on what your first reaction to what you saw there was, but it seemed to me it was like, okay, I get the Boston Marathon. I can't. I mean, I get terrorism. I get that there are dangers in this world and that people are going to hurt us. But the sheer randomness of something like that occurred last night in West Texas, where you can be sitting in your bed a football field away from your local fertilizer plant, trying to go, and then you're gone. You're just gone. Those houses are gone. They're just completely leveled. Whoever was in those houses is gone. Did you see the apartment building? Anybody who lived on that top floor, I mean, they basically experienced an atom bomb. Like when you see in the test fields in Nevada where the drapes go first, but then everything like a second. There were people in those houses that experienced that. And go ahead, Sam.
Oh, that other thing you posted with the father and little boy, that was gut wrenching.
Well, we've all heard that. However, that is not a little boy. That is Rich. Have you heard this one? Have you seen this one? This is going around everywhere. Let me see if I can pull this up for you. Paco, go ahead. You tell me about how you learned about what was happening in West.
I mean, it wasn't until later in the night, but, like the Boston Marathon bombing, there was no personal connection for me. I could point into the general direction of Boston on a map, but I've never been there. I don't. It's a marathon. Like
I'll
it's
take
not,
geography for 100, Alex.
But I've been to West so many times, and I'm from a town that's not unlike West, and the fact that it was just this random thing, there was no one to blame, no one to get mad at.
It's just the fragility of life.
I mean, you could blame the fertilizer company. Is it starting to come out?
I think we're gonna. I think we're gonna blame the fertilizer company.
But at the same time, there was no malice behind it. It was just an unfortunate event, and it's just it's crazy,
See, I got to go the other way. I don't want to interrupt, but
no, I want to play this, and just let's listen. Have you heard this? Dan and Chloe, his daughter. We all thought it was a boy. It was a girl. Did you know what I'm going to play here for you?
I don't know what it is.
Paco, have you heard this? Dan and Chloe.
Yeah.
All right, this is the viral thing that's going everywhere. Here, let me see if we can play this. Are we set? Okay. Here's what's going on. Father Dan, drives over to the local Catholic church to pick up his daughter, Chloe, from CCD classes. On their way back, they see this big fire burning over yonder, up over the hill. So they pull over, they pull out the video camera. It's a father and kid moment. He even said, he goes, I know it's stupid, but we saw the fire and we thought, wow, let's watch. And you want to go stupid, but no, who among us?
I would.
Yeah, it's what we do. I also want to say this. One of the most troubling reports that came out early last night was that right across the street from the explosion, there were 20, they described about 20 10 to 15-year-old kids on bikes watching this thing
Yeah.
They were across the entrance from the plant, as close as anyone, standing next to the fire trucks, the trucks that were blown away. And these kids, I don't know, I haven't heard if these kids are dead or what, but what an absolutely horrible thing. Who wouldn't, if you were a 15-year-old kid and this is going on in your neighborhood, who wouldn't ride over with their bike?
I would be
and try
as
and get
close
as close
as I
as you
could
could
get to
be.
it. Yeah.
And the
So would I.
And the
Yeah.
police and the fire are like, get back, kids, get back. And, you stay back as far. And I guess that's what happened. But they were not back far enough, because if they were standing where people describe seeing them standing, then they won't be there. But here's dad and daughter pulled over watching. Have you seen this, V? You haven't seen it? All right, here, I'll make it big so you can see it.
No, I haven't.
Here, make sure we get it good. All right, this is the audio. This is some of the most, well, it's crazy audio. Here we go.
With the wind blowing that way.
They're watching it burn. Wind is blowing.
It should collapse. There, looks like it's jumped out the window.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh, you okay?
Dad?
You okay?
Dad, I can't hear.
Come here.
I can't hear. Get out of here. Please get out of here.
Oh my God.
Please get out of here. Please get out of here. Oh my God. Dad, please get out of here. I can't
Chloe.
hear. I can't hear
Oh,
anything.
shit.
I can't hear anything.
Oh my God.
Dad.
Chloe.
How about that, huh?
Whoa.
How about that?
Oh.
She's fine. Her hearing came back. It was just a concussion loss, and she's fine. The little girl is beautiful. They had her on TV today on CNN, standing there on the corner talking to Anderson Cooper. She's fine. Dad is fine. Good-looking family. Everything worked out for him.
I got a 9-year-old daughter, and I don't ever
Yeah.
want to hear that again in my life.
I know, right? Yeah. Hey, James, you're a father of some little kids. What does that make you think of?
I couldn't hear it.
Oh
I
shit!
didn't hear
That's
any of it.
right.
I didn't hear. I didn't know. Seriously, I didn't hear the radio traffic you were playing earlier. I think it's a shortcoming of me being on the phone.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. All right. So, your thoughts on this whole thing, Rich? You brought it up. When is it time to start looking for a blame? Because I'm pretty sure we know what it is, right? We have paper trail telling us.
We got 2 events in the course of 3 days. The Boston Marathon bombing by definition by terrorists.
Yes.
And we got a company explosion, both around 165 people injured in each event. One is the direct result of malice. The other, according to this report in the Dallas Morning News, is a direct result of, in one way or form, neglect. Officials at the West Fertilizer Company plant, where a massive explosion killed at least 15 people, on Wednesday told the Environmental Protection Agency and local authorities that the factory presented no risk of explosion. The company wrote that there was no risk of fire or explosion on a required emergency planning report, according to documents reviewed by the Dallas Morning News. In the report, the company said it had over 54,000 pounds of anhydrous ammonia, the gas with suffocating fumes that they use to make this fertilizer. 10 times what was used to blow up the Oklahoma City federal building.
The explosion was 10 to 15 times that of the Murrow building.
And that, the plant is safe? Take our word for it?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Environmental Protection Agency.
Well, let me ask James Parker about this, because is this one of them regulations you want to do away with?
Yeah, but this is clearly
Jesus
murder
Christ.
at this point. This guy has to be prosecuted for, at very minimum, manslaughter and negligent homicide. But you could maybe even tack on a second, or if they even have a third-degree murder. This is way up there with that.
Well, we're all in agreement on that. But I mean, you don't believe that we should have these kinds of regulations to begin with, yes? I mean, if they had been playing fairly with the EPA, don't you think this might not have happened? I mean, the EPA requiring them to meet certain standards would have prevented this. They lied to them about the standards that they were meeting. Doesn't this just prove that we need more regulation? Because left on their own, private America is not going to do the safe thing. This is just another example.
There is room for some regulation of environmental things because I don't believe in forcing a cost or imposing force upon someone else. So like if I'm building a big fire and I get soot all over my neighbor's house, that pollution is imposing a cost on my neighbor. And then you take that on a more macro level. Yeah, I'm fine with regulations that keep you from affecting other people without their permission. I'm cool with that. However, in this case, you have an EPA. You have the EPA trying to take care of the situation. And just because people have laws, they're not going to follow them. Why don't you see this as a failure of the EPA or a failure of regulation?
Because Rick Perry wants to throw the EPA out of the state. He says Texas is good for business, and we don't want the EPA telling any business anything they can't do because Texas won't be good for business anymore. And that is idiocracy incarnate.
Right, but if murder charges aren't going to persuade someone to do the right thing, then some pencil neck regulator over at the EPA is not going to convince them either. It's like because drugs are illegal, people are still going to get them. No one's going to say, "Oh, I don't want to smoke weed anymore because it's illegal." Or
the difference between James, the difference between the EPA war and the drug war is one is well financed and the government is behind it, and the other one isn't.
Right, and they're both failing miserably.
Well, who do you hold responsible in this case?
Obviously,
I don't just throw it out an example for the idea of comparison. This is China. You look at, say, the tainted milk scandals. They executed the heads of all those companies.
Well, we would never want to be anything like China.
Yeah,
No.
is that?
But they got the right idea there.
I mean, you go down the rabbit hole and say, okay, well, corporations are people. Can you try a corporation like a person in court? And then at that point, who's responsible? Was it the guy that lied to the EPA?
Well, James said it. The guy who owns the West Fertilizer Company, or whoever told the EPA, everything's great, don't worry about us.
But was it him? Was it his
I don't know.
guys? His
Well,
bean
that's,
counter?
I mean,
Like,
but it doesn't matter. Isn't he ultimately held responsible? That's why it's so, it's great to be the boss, but also the shit stops at your desk. You're the boss. You've got to be responsible for the people that you put in charge of representing and running your business. You're the boss, Rich Hancock.
But how many CEOs have gone to jail for the crap their companies have done?
Exactly.
Union Carbide or British Petroleum or, name it.
It's a fine that a lot of times doesn't even equal the amount of money they made doing something that's illegal.
You know what they're going to do? They're going to blame the night janitor. They're going to blame some guy who can't defend himself properly.
Well, they've already come out and said, could this have been a freak accident? Is there some way that they couldn't have known this was ever going to happen?
There was a fire at the facility that they were trying to deal with in proximity to 54,000 pounds of explosive ammonium nitrate. Yeah, I think they might have figured out they had a problem on their hands pretty early on.
Well, this is the big problem with all of us here. This should not be a bipartisan issue. This seems open and shut. This seems obvious. But why would anyone say that less regulation would have been better than the EPA actually being dealt with properly?
Governor Good here is doing it every day.
That's what I don't get.
I think the point James is trying to make, though, is what's the point of regulation if it's not properly enforced?
You're right, and we are unfairly putting this in James' corner. I'm just letting him.
I'm fine with that.
But I'm allowing you to sort of be the spokesperson for all people who are libertarians, and that's how you describe yourself. The fact of the matter is that I will be on Facebook arguing with people who don't want red lights. That's how against regulations they are. They don't want red lights. They don't want air traffic controllers. They don't want any of this. That's crazy.
They want freaking Thunderdome because that's freedom.
Right. Now, because that's what the founding fathers intended. Now, James, where do you fit in with that crowd?
I like to control weird things or tiny things like street lights and things like that at as local a level as possible. So if you're in a town of 300, like the one I grew up in, it's like seriously 600 people. If you got enough people to vote, you and Cooter and Rusty and Cody all voted on the same day to get rid of the red lights, then knock yourself out. We'll see how that works. And maybe we'll make fun of you, and you can be a segment on The Daily Show tomorrow. Like these idiots.
But what happens when they run over your kid because you're waiting in the wings to see how their experiment fails?
Thank you.
Well, I don't live in Cooterville.
Okay. All right.
Oh, your kids, not your problem, James?
Well, no, but I think what he's saying, if the people who live there don't make that decision, don't look down the road and see how it could negatively affect them, then they get what they deserve. Is that what you're saying, James?
I'm saying that's the beauty of doing it as low of a level as possible, because they are only hurting themselves.
Yeah, but
that's why. And if they want to hurt themselves, let them hurt themselves.
What about in this town of 300, where 250 are fucking inbred morons, and then you got 50 smart people, and they're living in basically Thunderdome because they're outnumbered in their own hometown? That doesn't really seem fair, does it? I mean, like, I guess that's the whole thing. Tough, right? That's the answer. Tough for them.
Well, I mean,
move.
there is a certain level of Darwinism in it. Like I forget the motto, but it's like a libertarian doesn't wear a seatbelt because the government told him to. A libertarian wears a seatbelt because it's a good idea.
Right.
Which it weeds out the idiots who don't wear seatbelts. Like, why should it be a law? Why can't these guys fly through windshields?
Can I tell you, I was 16 when they made the national seatbelt rule. I was just starting to drive. I never wore seatbelts. My family was not a seatbelt family. It took the government to tell me that it would be a good idea. I'd never even thought about it. I really didn't. And now I put a seatbelt on every time I get in the car because it's what we've been doing for the last 20-something years. But the government had a good idea there. It was a good idea.
There's a constant line that's always being drawn between the rights of a person as an individual and the sheer stupidity of the masses, where you have to protect everyone and it's not. It's tough to call that a right, like whether or not you can wear a seatbelt, but the general consensus is it's not safe to let a bunch of people be stupid, so you have to tell a person they can't do a thing.
And James sounds like a very reasonable, moderate libertarian, and I say that with all respect, James. I'm just saying that there's a huge difference between, and the bottom line here is extremism, extreme beliefs, taking these philosophies to extremes, and the fact is, when you've got people, and this is my problem with Ron Paul and Ron Paul people. They really sincerely think that nobody should ever tell them what to do about anything. And that, I'm sorry, with all respect, James, is the argument of a frickin' 10-year-old. You know what it is?
It's obstinance.
You don't get to tell me what to do.
Is.
I'll stay out as long as I want. Right. I swear, it when it boils down to that's the idiocracy of the argument.
It's also the pioneering mountain man spirit that I think me and James Parker embody.
No more pioneers, no more mountain men. We got Kaczynski.
So exactly right.
But that's an absolute meaningless argument, because you didn't beat them based on the merits of your position. You just said they sound like whiny little 10-year-olds, and a lot of them do. I hate Ron Paul supporters for the most part. Even though I am one, I recognize how obnoxious you are. I really do. And so I realized going into the situation, you've already talked to 80 total dickwads about Ron Paul who got all angry and all up in your grill, and they've done it to me. I understand where you're coming from.
They're crazy.
So I understand there's a process I have to go through before I'm not one of the wackos.
I dabbled in.
I'm not going to whine at you. I'm not going to stamp my feet and have a tantrum. So don't associate me with those people, please.
Stan.
I have a friend who's a history professor in Arizona, and he's actually more of a left-leaning Democrat type, but he says that he believes when it comes to libertarianism, you've got your big L libertarians and your little L libertarians. And he says he believes the reasonable ones are the little L ones that take the good things from it, but also recognize what's rational and what's totally insane and almost anarchist.
Can I interrupt here for a second? I saw this about a half hour ago. It's breaking right now. There's really not much information. MIT police officer shot on campus. An MIT police officer was shot near the State Center campus Thursday night. MIT sent out an alert to students about the shooting, telling them to stay indoors. State police say the officer suffered life-threatening injuries. No arrest has been made, and a search is currently underway for the suspect or suspects. The shooting occurred at approximately 10:30 p.m. All right, well, so there we go. I just figured if that turns out to something, we may as well say
all right. Here's what we do here. Racial bingo. What are our clues? MIT.
Muslim.
Well, MIT would be Chinese, actually.
Yeah,
I'm just
we're-
gonna cast the Asian net out there.
Asian and white. Now, this could be like this cop interrupted a campus rape, so it could be someone sneaking in from the neighborhood around MIT. What neighborhood is that in? I'm not familiar with Boston.
Actually, MIT is in Cambridge, Mass., which is right across the river over the Longfellow Bridge.
Fancy?
Yeah, but the people
Oh, yeah,
around.
right.
What's the neighborhood?
Neighborhood.
White?
Well, actually,
White.
He
just asked this.
Actually, it's not fancy, but it is. It's like middle class white. It's Boston. We call them Boston royalty. If you have a state job and own a triple decker, you're Boston royalty. So that's kind of the.
He asked if it's white. Isn't everybody in Boston white? Don't black people got to move to Rhode Island? Isn't that what you guys do?
No.
No? Where do black people in Boston live? Every time I see what I am conditioned to think that the bad neighborhoods in every urban city is got to be a black neighborhood or a minority neighborhood. Just conditioned that way. The ghettos are always that way. Boston, every time I see like the worst neighborhood, it's a bunch of shanty white people.
That's because of a place called Southie.
Yes!
See, I'm conditioned to the bad neighborhood being on the south side of every city.
Yeah.
Actually, the south side of Boston, before you get to Southie, which is across a highway, is really nice. That's like the gay neighborhood with all the townhouses and remodeled and upper middle class and so the Southie is a whole different animal though. That's where you remember Cabrini Green in Chicago.
Sure.
All the preferred public housing for white people was in Southie. Post busing 1972.
See,
they
stop you right
had
there.
to integrate the.
I gotta stop you right
housing.
there. Every other city I've ever seen didn't have preferred public housing for white people.
No,
there were no white people in them.
That's what I'm saying. They actually, you had political insiders.
That's
that said,
weird.
Let's build some low income housing in Southie for the poor white people. Well, because of the busing integration and all that stuff going on in the early 70s, they were forced to integrate the public housing in Southie. That started the wars. And you say no black people in Boston? You don't remember the busing and the racial strife?
Yeah,
in the
I thought
70s?
they bust them out of town. I had no idea what that was about. Was I wrong there? I thought that was some mass.
Just doesn't know where they live.
They
He's
were
not saying they're not there.
They were busting them
I
in the
guess I
same
got that
school
wrong.
district to the good schools.
Yeah.
So they were making sure the black kids had as good a shot at the good schools as like Patrick Ewing went to Boston Latin, a great public school in Boston.
Let me ask you a quick question about Boston, because I always wondered this. And I was walking around. I was touristy. I think I was taking the Freedom Trail. By the way,
Old North Church and
Boston, one of the absolute coolest cities in America. I know it's your hometown. Don't get a big head, but it is awesome. If you've never been there, it is awesome. The history, the bars, the nightlife, the culture is fantastic. I was walking, and I was in this it was called Jamaica Plains.
Yeah.
What is that? Was I lost? Was I in danger? Because I got to tell you, I was scared. I was a little bit creeped.
Actually, no. It sounds like it would be a tough neighborhood. Jamaica Plain is a white neighborhood.
It was a little rundown. It's older.
It's
neighborhood?
older, but that's where all the yuppies moved to convert the old buildings into townhouses. Jamaica Plain's pretty sweet now.
What a fantastic city Boston is. And I was driving around. I did the Google Earth. I did the parade route. I was trying to see exactly, where what it was before it blew up and all that stuff. What a gorgeous, gorgeous town, Boston.
It is.
Yeah. James, let's see. What are we talking about here? Oh, I know what I wanted to discuss. Look, we could. Are we done with West Texas? Was there anybody want to say anything about West Texas? I know we're doing something here.
Yeah,
it's just it's such a sad story. It's what are we doing?
Well, if anyone that's out there listening right now wants to make any donations to the families of West, I've got a friend who's driving out there Monday. We're looking for plastic silverware, non-perishable food items, underwear, socks, babies' diapers, baby wipes. I mean, just anything you can think of, dog food, cat food, bedding, anything that you can think of to send that would be useful.
Actually, you know what they say in these situations? Anything you can't think of. It's not the stuff you can think of. The stuff you can think of, they've got too much of.
Yeah, like razors and shaving cream.
People don't consider stuff like that.
Anything,
soap, hand
toiletries,
soap.
every
Sanitizer.
toilet paper.
Sanitizer, yeah.
Anything that you can or can't think of. Like, rack your brain, whatever you can come up
They're
with.
going to end up with 1,000 cans of beets and Kraft macaroni and cheese. There are other things they need.
That would make me really
Toilet
sad.
paper is what they always say.
You lost your house, another toothbrush, whatever.
Yeah. Go ahead, James.
Don't you feel tempted to give them beer? Give them a case of beer.
Sure.
Hey,
If
have a
you-
good Thursday, pal.
If you can
Absolutely.
spare a pound of marijuana, send it on with them.
They'd probably enjoy that as well. Okay.
Also, this weekend at Dallas Comedy House in Deep Ellum, they're donating half of the ticket sales to West. If you guys are interested, improv comedy. I'm not going to be there.
But if that's your
it's
thing,
it's not my beast. I'm more of a classic stand-up.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
If you're into improvisational comedy, you should check it out.
You like to
And
be
if you
prepared.
if you are into it, they're really great. I mean, I've been out there a handful of times, and I laugh my ass off every time I go out there. So
There are a couple of stories. Are we good? Did we get all the plugs in that we need? A couple of stories here that I want to talk about quickly, having nothing to do. Well, this one kind of has to do with West. Are you guys familiar with this Grand Prairie school teacher who was relieved of her duties?
Yeah, I saw
today?
a screenshot of that earlier, but I'm at the point where I don't believe any pictures anybody shares on Facebook. So.
Here's the story.
Photoshop is too good.
Yeah.
Grand Prairie counselor fired after comments on WFAA's Facebook page. So she was participating in a little Facebook fun, something that I've been known to do from time to time. She was doing it on WFAA's page. I only do it on my own page where I control that shit. You know what I mean? This girl is posting up on a very public page. You know, if you're on Facebook and you want to hear what's buzzing in Dallas, you might go to WFAA's page and just talk about the news. So here's the story. Grand Prairie, Karen Wright, a counselor at Andrew Jackson Middle School. What did he do? What did Andrew Jackson do? This is going to be another school named after someone I got a problem with.
Andrew Jackson was the last guy who had a balanced budget or had no deficit in this country.
I believe he was the 13th president. Killed a bunch of
Indians.
Indians.
That's what you're thinking of.
He killed a bunch of Indians?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
His nickname was
That's
Old
what you're
Hickory.
thinking of.
Karen Wright, a counselor at Andrew Jackson Middle School in Grand Prairie, has been immediately relieved of all duties. This, according to the district, after offensive remarks written from her Facebook account on WFAA TV's Facebook page in regards to the explosion in West Texas. Here's what she said. Regarding last night, a school teacher in Grand Prairie posted this on WFAA's thread about the West Texas explosion. It's amazing how the whites get angry when Obama speaks, the comment read. Oh, well, it's most of the whites who's getting blown away anyway, so they will soon be wiped off from the earth. LOL. Now I'm going to teach your white students tomorrow. Bye-bye. She lost her job for that. Well, let's talk about that, okay? Because I think it's a pretty absolute. I got a kid. You got a kid. This woman is not qualified to be a teacher making statements like that.
She's not qualified to hold a steak knife.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I was worried that you might have
She's a
some...
danger to herself and others. Don't give her don't let her go to Sizzler. No steak knife for you, honey. You're an imbecile.
Stanton, what do you think of this teacher here?
You know, part of me feels like it's kind of, you know, I mean, I have kids too, and I wouldn't want someone to be taught like that. Honestly, I wouldn't want them to have a teacher like that. But at the same time, it's kind of like people have fucking opinions, and sometimes they leave those at the door when they go.
That's
to
a
teach.
dangerous opinion, though. That's a dangerous opinion that she shared publicly,
I
and she in the
totally- yeah.
community is known as a teacher at that school.
I mean, I agree. I 1000% agree. But I am kind of conflicted with. It kind of sucks when people can't say what they want on their free time. It's just, you know.
Did she say it on her free time, or did she publish it?
Yeah, I don't know. What does that mean? I
if
see
you
the
heard her say it in a
distinction.
coffee shop, would you feel different? Would you want her still fired?
No, I don't think.
Yeah, I want to interject.
Oh, please.
I just want to say, I
V.
mean, it doesn't matter if she said it on her free time. If she's out talking and nobody hears it, that's fine. But she's posting it in a public forum where her students
Yeah.
can see it, where teachers can see it, parents can see it.
I think it's called expectation of privacy.
Yeah.
She had no expectation of privacy
No.
when she shared this opinion so publicly. Paco, what do you think?
I think she doesn't know how to troll people on the internet.
I think she is the clumsiest troll.
You're supposed to create an
That
anonymous
is-
account.
And she obviously doesn't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
about. She doesn't know about trolling because that should have been her defense.
She
Yeah.
should
That should have been
That's
that I was
the
trolling.
LOL should have gotten her off at the end.
I was joking. I was joking.
This is a complete breakdown of internet society. You are right. That should be her get out of jail free card, Rich.
In the context of this, just for a second, and I've told you this 1,000 times, and I'm not kissing your ass. What makes Pugs an amazing broadcaster is the way he has worn his heart on his sleeve and told, amazing, difficult personal things on the air. But I also know that there is a line, and you know not to cross certain lines in terms of certain, things you might want to say. That might involve the people that you work for, the company you work for. So-and-so gets fired, and the next day you don't go on and say, this company sucks for firing that guy, because it's your job. There's some internal filter in you. One of the most candid people in broadcasting I've ever met. There's a filter in you. There's a filter in me. And and this woman's entrusted with kids in a school. Mm-hmm. She has no filter, clearly, and that shows a lack of judgment that is indefensible.
James Parker, your thoughts on this?
I'm okay with her being fired. I don't think necessarily what she said was that offensive. I'm more concerned with her inability to realize she shouldn't say that in a public setting.
Thank you.
It's bad enough that you feel that way, but to not have the sense to keep your damn mouth shut because what you're going to say will not be taken well. That's cool. She gets fired. I don't care if she gets rehired somewhere else and can work with kids, because people like that can be redeemed. It's just like, hey, whatever your name is, keep it to yourself, all right? Try and be a little less racist in public forums, and you may keep your next job.
That is my problem, that she was so reckless with this provocative opinion when she's look, teachers need to be held, I'm sorry, to a higher standard. I think teachers get the short end of the stick on a lot of things. We expect so much of them. We blame them for entire generations turning out like horse shit. And we pay them crap and we say, well, they get the summers off. What do they expect? Yeah. No, you know what? We really do treat our teachers unfairly. And, in all fairness, and I've taken a few teachers home from Dukes late at night. They're crazy, man. They're crazy, right?
Let me say my wife is a teacher.
Teachers, all right.
My mother's a teacher.
My mom is too, yeah, my mom and my wife.
Present company excluded. You find yourself a 25-year-old third grade teacher at closing time. You're taking her home. That girl is up for anything. They're like hairdressers.
That's Disneyland.
They're crazy.
That's Disneyland of crazy chicks. Yeah, Absolutely right. But they don't do that in the classroom, and they don't do it.
No. That's why they're probably so oppressed in every moment of their day that they get out to Dukes and it's shot time.
Man, when my wife read 50 Shades of Grey,
they're freaks. But the other thing that bothers me too is that her message isn't an opinion; it's hatred. She's wishing death upon people.
She said LOL at the end.
All right, very good. She did say LOL.
The comedian exemption from Paco.
Can I talk about something that kind of relates to this? I was actually reading a blog the other day called Dangerous Black Girl. And one of her posts was about how white people can never call out reverse racism because we don't know what true racism is. And that was the opinion of her post.
There is the belief that racism is more than just hating another race. It's more institutional.
Yeah,
and that's like if you run into a crazy black guy on the street who's like, I hate white people, as long as he doesn't try to kill you, what does that really affect you as a white person other than, oh, this guy doesn't like me?
Yeah. James Parker, what do you think of black people? It seems like that's where this was going, so why not cut to the chase?
Yeah, well, what she said was hatred, I guess.
She said LOL at the end.
Yeah, the LOL kind of says it. I'm not sure so much if it was hatred or it's just really bad wording opinions. Maybe she meant to say despise, but she doesn't really use her vocabulary. But even that aside, you're still allowed to hate people. So what? She hates white people. Big deal. All right, hate white people. Just hate white people in the privacy of your own home, or hate white people but don't post it on public forums and expect to keep your job. But I'm not. It doesn't bother me.
Hey, if you hate white people and you work at the tire shop down the road, go ahead, post whatever you want. But if you're teaching my kids, I'm going to come after you. If you expose yourself as the person that this person did on this WFAA Facebook page, I'm going to come after you if you're teaching my kids.
But what if she's a really good teacher? What if she's teaching
she's not.
non-political, like Algebra 2?
She's not. She's not a good teacher. This is not a good teacher.
A good teacher would tell you not to do those things.
Yes, exactly.
I'm more concerned with her judgment, though, just for posting it out
Absolutely.
there.
Teaching's all about
bothers
judgment.
Me more than the negative opinion of white people, because a lot of white people piss me off, and if that's the only white people she's had contact with, that may be a valid opinion in her life.
I hate a lot of white people.
Yeah, no, me too.
Most of them are in my family, though.
But you know what? But I can't say. I can say that I can sit here without fear of recrimination. I can say I hate a lot of white people, but I can't say I hate a lot of black people. And there are black people I don't like. Nah, it's a different thing. It's a different thing, and I understand why.
How many
that
black
is.
people do you really know?
Quite a few. Quite a few from the south side
And
of
then you
Chicago.
don't.
dude.
South side of Chicago.
But you don't like any of them? How many of them do you not like? How many of them are the good ones?
Well, I will say this. I will be clear about this. Any black people that I don't like, it has nothing to do with the fact that they're black. It's because they're assholes. I mean, they're not all of them. I mean, these particular ones that I know. People come in all shapes and sizes, and assholes are prevalent among all of them.
But how about this? I mean, you remember this well, Pugs, and I got into a lot of trouble with a lot of my own with Democrats for taking this guy to the woodshed for what he said. John Wiley Price, county commissioner in Dallas County.
He's a dick.
He is he's an insult. You're insulting dicks, calling him a dick. And he's my party. But there was an occasion a year and a half, 2 years ago, where he had this encounter in the commission proceedings, and some people standing behind him reacted to his. He flies off the handle like nobody's business, and he said, "Y'all are white. You can go to hell. Y'all are white. You can go to hell." Mm-hmm. If any white politician turned to citizens at a public meeting and said to a group of black people who were questioning them over what they'd done or said, "Oh, you're all black. Go to hell." Can you imagine how fast the recriminations would be? But John Wiley Price is still sitting in that job.
Yeah, but that's because
Till the FBI carts him away.
But his constituency wants to hear him say that.
And no one's going to call him on
people
it.
that keep electing him over and over.
He's allowed to be a dick because you guys are a bunch of pussies.
I hate him.
V, your thoughts on John Wiley Price?
I absolutely hate him. I'm a Dallas resident local. Like, I've been trying to get him out ever since I could vote, and it's ridiculous how he gets away with fraud. I mean, there've been charges against him. He's just a bad man all the way around. He gets away with it all
Every
the
city's
time.
got one of these guys.
Yep.
Every city's got one.
He's
Some
the
have
one.
more. Yeah. In Chicago, we had a guy named Gus Savage. Do you know who Gus Savage was? Yes. Remember Gus Savage?
Loathe.
Do you know who replaced? We got rid of Dirty Gus Savage. You know who we got in his place? Mel Reynolds, the guy who 1 year later molested his 12-year-old campaign worker.
I've known Mel Reynolds since 1980.
Yeah, do you remember?
And he was a dick then.
Yeah.
He went to Harvard. He was a black guy who was only black around black people, and he put on. It was like a
John Wiley
minstrel
Price is
show.
the same way.
It was like a minstrel show, the way this guy would go from, he was wearing his Harvard tie and blue blazer and khakis. He would turn into Superfly in the drop.
Well, listen, you want to talk about a jacked up district and why do these guys stay in and why can't they get anyone good? In Chicago, we had Gus Savage in that district for about 30 years. And then Mel Reynolds came in, and he completely shit the bed. He started molesting some 12-year-old campaign worker.
An imbecile.
Yeah, and then we replaced him with Jesse Jackson Jr., who was there for 15 years, who, early on looked quite promising, and we know how that worked out now. I mean, that is just a jacked up district. And there are some of these districts that are just unfixable. And I say this all the time. We can sit here and we can blame the government. We can sit here and we can blame the media. No, it's us. Blame us. We're the fucking morons, excuse my language. Until we expect better from us and our neighbors, nothing is ever going to change. And simply assigning blame to some faceless, monolithic government is a cop-out. And it's not going to fix anything.
Bugs, you know this. I ran for political office here in Dallas County last year, 2012. I ran for the State House. And I told people every single time you hear people just bitch about the legislature, we have in Texas, we have everywhere in this country, we have exactly the government we deserve. We may not like it. Right. I didn't like it when I had George W. Bush as president for 8 years, but we had the president we deserved based on who participates in elections. Yep. We have a country where if 50% of the people turn out and vote, it's, celebration, throw a parade. You've got in El Salvador, 85-90% of the people going to the polls in the 1980s running serpentine through strafing gunfire from the tree line, and 90% of them vote. South Africa, when they lift apartheid, miles long. The list to vote, the line to vote was miles long. They had to print 5 million new ballots so that everybody could get to vote. But we take it so for granted here. and I don't want to force anybody to vote. I just wish
Punch them in
people would give a crap that everything that happens matters to them.
James Parker, I'm going to ask you to respond to that. But, I'm of the mind that if you're too dumb to vote, don't vote. If we had a 2% turnout and it was only the 2% of people that are engaged and motivated and are actually paying attention, we may get better candidates. But the problem is that the mindless voter gums up the works. And the mindless voter is the person who blames every other person's congressman for everything that goes wrong. But their congressman is absolutely aces by them. Boy, they saw him at the pancake breakfast. They shook his hand. He's a good man. I'm going to vote for him for the rest of my life. Meanwhile, your congressman is fucking the rest of us, just like our congressman is fucking you. And until we get over this local celebrity, which is what we turn our congressmen into, where everybody's so impressed to meet them and they'll vote for life for him because he smiled at me on his way to the car. That is bullshit.
He remembered my name.
That is our fault.
That's John Wiley Price's whole slogan.
That's
our man downtown. He's got it on like wraps on all of his cars.
We are dumb people. James Parker.
Yeah, I like the off years in the election cycle because I think you get more well thought out results because only the people that are politically active are more likely to go in the off years. Not when there's a presidential election, but in the 2-year cycle between those. And that's just got me thinking the less people that vote, the better. And it seems to be that way for us. That the lower the turnout, the better the result, in my opinion. And this is coming from a third-party guy who, it's always a lesser of two evils for me. So,
Rich,
elections are something I just don't get too heated about. I'm going to lose, like try being the.
But maybe that's because you're crazy. Have you ever thought of that? That your guys keep losing because maybe you're crazy?
No, well, he makes a point.
Maybe.
I really don't like whoever the populist candidate is at the time. It's always.
But this is a democratic republic based on the participation of the electorate, and to wish that fewer people actually participated, or in fact what the Republican Party is effectively trying to do in a dozen different ways all over this country, restrict the actual turnout, restrict the number of people and the type of people who can actually go vote. That's by definition creating an oligarchy that is not a representative government of all the people.
Restricting the vote is just as bad as creating incentives to vote beyond being a part of the government.
But see, what incentives have been created to vote?
Look, I'm ready. I'm ready to hit pause on the Constitution and just go with a benevolent dictator for about 20, 30 years. What's Tom Hanks doing? When we trust Tom Hanks, let's just make him. At least we would know that all the decisions were made by a nice guy.
Actually,
just for a couple of years.
I would rather Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman?
I would tune
is that
into
who you want?
every address, every single one. I would just be like, this is awesome.
That would sound good.
But you know how many despots in the course of history have been elected by popular vote? Adolf Hitler was a nice guy who got elected to the position he held until he made himself dictator for life. He was elected chancellor.
Yeah, he was a populist. They loved him. Sold out concerts.
Hugo Chavez, it's pick your nut from whichever political end of the spectrum.
I don't think Hugo Chavez was that big of a nut, but I'm not going to challenge you on this.
Well, no.
See, I was going to say, despots throughout history, the way I'm seeing history these days, I'm not exactly sure how many of these people were actual despots or just people that told us no. Because really, whenever someone tells us no throughout history, suddenly they became the worst person of their generation. Mm-hmm. They become the guy that, is our boogeyman.
Saddam Hussein.
We've got some other things we want to get to. We got one last story before we wrap this thing up. This came out tonight. This I'm very excited about. I'd love to get James, the libertarian here. I'd like to get your take on this, as well as you, Rich Hancock. Supreme Court says cops need warrants for DUI blood tests. This is that big thing where cops were pulling people over and giving DUIs, and when you say, I'm not going to blow, they say, well, then we're going to take your blood, and you say, no, you can't just take my blood, and they could say, yeah, we got a judge on the phone. He's been waiting up all night for you. You know this thing that they're doing? Mm-hmm. They're keeping judges on call. Well, the Supreme Court ruled today that cops must obtain a search warrant before blood testing DUI suspects, a murky area of the law that The Fix wrote about previously in Texas. The test case began with the arrest of one Tyler McNeely in rural Missouri. whose swerving car was pulled over by the Missouri State Highway Patrol. McNeely, who had 2 previous drunk driving convictions, was arrested after failing a field sobriety test and refusing a breathalyzer. McNeely was taken to a hospital where a technician performed a blood test without his consent. All right, we'll just stop it right here. Because really the issue here is a very... James, I'm going to ask you, how do you feel about being forced to give blood on the side of the road at 1:30 in the morning because a judge in the back of the van says it's so?
Absolutely not. No, that's a no-no. You can't do that. If you can't get it off of my breath, something I'm naturally going to expel, then you're SOL. Make me walk the line, video me walking the line, and then we'll take it to a court and we'll let a jury of my peers decide whether or not I look too drunk to drive to you. But blood, hell no. Not even with the warrant. And this bull crap of a judge on call, no, that's what a game. What an absolute game they're playing with the Constitution. It's like the checkpoint. They say, well, we put it in the paper, so you voluntarily went through the checkpoint. These little skirting around loopholes are all bogus, and I don't understand how they even got into law.
Where do they put those in the paper?
The loopholes?
No, the checkpoints.
Yeah, do they list them? I don't know.
Yeah, that's all they have to do. They have a constitutional requirement to announce it, so you're not being detained without reasonable suspicion. Like that. This turns it into you voluntarily surrendered yourself to the checkpoint because they made it available to the public, the knowledge that it was going to be there.
Yeah, I posted this up on Facebook, and I simply put the words victory. And boy, I was kind of surprised at my friends who were like,
And people are really too hot over the drunk driving thing. I mean, absolutely crazy.
This is really polarizing. Somebody asked on my Facebook page, well, what happens if I refuse it? What happens then? And I just simply put, I don't care. I don't care what happens then. Nobody is taking my blood from my body unless I give it to them. You're going to hold me down, drive a needle into my arm, and take what's next, my organs? This is preposterous from the standpoint of any American. And yet people are fighting for it because they think it serves the greater good.
Absolutely not.
It's unbelievable. Stanton, go ahead.
That's shocking. That's horrifying to me. I couldn't imagine that. And they're talking about similar stuff like that, similar legislation in Colorado as well, for stone driving.
We're gonna have to look at that. There's gonna be a whole new crop of things we're gonna have to look at there.
Well, we definitely have to look at it, but it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous expectation because if they take my pee or my blood from, that doesn't prove that I was stoned when I was driving.
No.
It doesn't prove it at all.
I think we have universal agreement on this particular point, and the liberal and the libertarian and the pugs are all on the same. You're a hybrid, but I completely agree. If you can't get it from, it's like DNA evidence. You can't just, declare, open your mouth, I'm going to take a swab or take blood. You have to, they'll oftentimes obtain it from a glass
this
or
is
from
what jackbooted
a
thugs
cigarette
do.
butt. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that's there's no way in hell you should have I don't know what the hell, a Judge Dredd judge at 2:00 in the morning, lying around in his PJs watching porn, waiting for the cops to call and say, tell us we can take his blood. Okay, go ahead. That's just insanity.
Has anybody actually ever been through the DUI meat grinder? That is, anybody here?
No.
Anybody? No. I have, and you have too.
Sort of, but I got out of it. Yeah. I'll tell you how. It was really easy. I said no.
It's really easy.
I refused.
You're a cute girl. That's how you get out of it.
I refused. I refused everything.
Here was my story. Quickly, I went to a Christmas party. Went home with my girlfriend at the time, who actually wasn't a girlfriend. That was the problem. We had a fight. And apparently we were just on a date. I don't know. So I got mad. And I remember driving home. It was like midnight. I had just been to the 105.3 Christmas party. And I'm flying up the tollway. This is when I lived at Legacy in the tollway. And I'm speeding. All right? So kill me. I get pulled over at Frankfurt in the tollway. And I'm like, shit, I'm in a bad mood. I just had a fight with my girlfriend. I got to wake up. I got a show in the morning. I just want to go home. I'm not drunk, by the way. And trust me, Paco, you've been out with me a million times. Do I drunk drive or do I have somebody else? Have you ever seen me drunk drive?
No, you always have a limo guy or somebody else with you.
Oh, the good old days. No, I mean, that's a very serious thing with me. I don't drunk drive. So when I do drive and I have had a couple of drinks, I'm really aware of where I am. So I get pulled over, and the cop asks me, typical questions. Hey, where's the fire? I have cops in my family, and I know you always treat them respectfully and talk to them honestly. Tell them everything that's going on. So I said, yeah, look, I'm sorry, man. I got work in the morning. We had the Christmas party tonight. Had a fight with my girlfriend. I know I was speeding. Here's my driver's license. Here's my insurance card. All that stuff. Christmas party, huh? Would you mind stepping out of the car? That was all I had to say, and I'm just trying to be honest. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, certainly. So I get out of the car, and he goes, well, I'm going to have to ask you to do a couple of things. And I'm like, fine. I haven't, here's what I had to drink. I told him, because I had been drinking. I'm a grown man out at a Christmas party. I had a couple of cocktails, but I wasn't drunk. So he has me do the little walk test, pass it with flying colors, had me do it again. There was 2 cops, 1 guy and 1 girl. They made me do the fingers and the nose, and the guy's talking to me, and I'm talking to him. And I caught him look at his partner as we were finishing up the road sobriety test. And I caught him saying, like that. We're on the radio. But he kind of like winked at her, and he looked at me and gave me a smile, shook his head, kind of like, you're fine. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, all right, great. So as I'm walking back to my car, he said, just stand here for a minute. So I stand by the back of their car. I'm just standing in there talking, and the guy walks up, and he goes, she's going to have you do one more thing. And she goes, I'm going to ask you to blow. And she walks up, and I go, did I not just pass everything? It's going on a half hour now. I was really being respectful, but I've had a bad night. I'm pissed. It's getting later. Cars are whizzing by. I'm standing on the side of the tollway at Frankfurt. Cars are, as they're going by. I'm like, shit, you just made me perform like a seal. I'm starting to get pissed because I know this other guy was about to cut me loose, but now this girl, this over-officious girl, and this is not some male chauvinistic point of view. No, she really was. She was overly officious. She really enjoyed being a cop, and she really wanted to make sure that I was put through my paces. So she goes, okay, I'm going to ask you to blow. And I go, I've been extremely cooperative. And I was very articulate. And by the way, this will all play out at the end. Everything I'm saying and everything that I'm doing is being recorded. I'm performing on camera. This is all evidence that they're going to use against me. So I told her, I go, look, I'm not going to blow. I'm just not going to do this. This is ridiculous. And I'm getting pissed, right? And she goes, well, if you don't blow, you're going to take a ride. And I go, well, then let's take a fucking ride. I snapped momentarily. I fucking snapped. And I said that. I said, well, let's take a fucking ride. Because now it's the principle of the thing. Now I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's obvious I'm not drunk. So I go down, they film me, blah, blah, blah. Everything, the report, even she wrote in the report, I was very accommodating. I was, a good whatever they say. We get into court. I get my friend, David Burrows, unbelievable DUI lawyer. And he says, look, you seen your tape? I go, yeah. He goes, I have. Watch this. So we go into court. He grabs the prosecutor, talks to the prosecutor. Prosecutor says something. They go up, they talk to the judge. Apparently they've all seen the tape. The judge goes, and people are still milling about. People are still getting ready, checking in for the court. The judge goes, is Mr. Myron there? Mr. Myron, come here. Step up here. And he goes, yeah, nobody wants to prosecute this. And I go, so what does that mean? He goes, you're free to go. And I go, and I actually stopped and I said to the judge, I go, because I wanted my pound of flesh from this cop. And I go, excuse me, Your Honor. I go, did you see the tape? And he goes, yes, I did. And he was like shuffling other papers. And I go, in your opinion, did I appear drunk? And he goes, no, you didn't. And I'm like, all right, that's all I needed to hear. And I walked away. And I, from that moment, I have been on a rampage. You can throw mothers against drunk drivers at me all you want. They're wonderful people, and I believe the cause is a terrific thing. But just like everything else that grows to monolithic size, it's been corrupted. It is not this benevolent operation that we all think it is.
Extremists.
It is one by one forcing local politicians to bend our rights as civil. This taking blood from us on the roadside is completely unacceptable.
Yeah. I completely agree. It's mad and it's dare and it's all these groups are routinely corrupted because they become a cottage industry for the people who manage them, and they find their way into little political niches in communities, and they are insulated from any wrongdoing. You saw it. You've all seen how ineffective Dare is, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a worthless
I'm
product.
a product of Dare.
Yeah, look at this. This is a Dare product.
I come from cops. I love cops. Cops love Dare. I don't care. It doesn't do anything.
More drug users wear Dare shirts than anyone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. James Parker, your thoughts on all this?
I like that it's all well intentioned, but Matt and Dare and all these people, they do end up stripping rights away from us, and they think that they're helping us or doing good. And so it's really hard to be opposed to these people without looking like a dick. And so a lot of times I just look like a dick. I don't like them either. I really don't like Matt. I don't like Dare. I don't like any of that crap.
PETA.
V, I cut you off on your story. Did you?
Yeah, well, I was saying I was drinking, and I will let you know I learned a lesson from this, an individual lesson. Like libertarians like to say, it's on you.
Mm-hmm.
Had I gone to jail, had I been fine with DWI, I mean, this would have turned my entire life upside down. I mean, I was working for a good company. I actually got drunk at my company. I was working for Oracle at the time, and I was doing contracts, very snooty, very nerdy department, and we were doing closeout, and somebody decided it'd be a good idea to
What is that, a code name for some street drug?
Closeout, yeah.
Closeout?
Yeah. It was end of the quarter, like last minute contracts, deals going in, like big deals, and so somebody, somebody thought that it would be a really great idea to bring in a gallon of rum. I mean, just like a nice big jug, and it was supposed to be this, group of like 8 or 9 of us. Ends up me and one other guy pretty much killed the jug. No joke. I mean, I'd been working nonstop, but this was the last day. So I apparently spat out of there like a maniac. The people saw me, and then the next time they see me is when one of the guys that worked with me was bailing me out of jail, or actually he was picking me up. I'll say that because I basically totaled my car in front of the police officer.
So you had an accident.
I spun it, and I'm literally facing the cop on the highway at this point. And the cops, and I knew at that moment, I was like, fuck, because I had been, I've been drinking a lot, Yeah, and, but I refused. I refused everything.
Here's what every good DUI lawyer tells his professional athlete clients. Mm-hmm. If you get pulled over and you know that you've had a couple of drinks and you know your body, you know what you're going to blow, you got that feeling. Every DUI attorney in the country will tell you not to blow.
Don't do it.
Take the immediate suspension and fight it in court, because chances are without that evidence, they won't pursue it. And remember, it's the most important thing. If a cop ever accuses you of being drunk, you are being recorded. Everything you say he is gathering evidence. He's not asking those questions to make small talk. He's asking those questions to see if you're slurring your words, to build evidence so that he can build a case. Be on your best behavior. Here's a tip. This was something that my attorney told me. And he said, yeah, your tape is great. I go, what was so great about it? He goes, well, for one thing, they'll put you in a room. Did you get put in a booking room?
Yes.
They'll put you in a room, and in that room will be nothing but a chair in the middle of the room. They want to see how you act with that chair, because drunks won't sit in that chair. Drunks will lean against the wall. Drunks might sit Indian style on the floor. Someone who is sober is going to sit in that chair, sit calmly and patiently. A drunk is going to pace.
Fall over.
Well, that's the extreme drunks. Yeah. Someone who's drunk and trying to maintain might do shit like rub their head or look like they regret where they are. Don't do any of that shit. Sit there and wait to be dealt with. You're being recorded. They're going to use everything you say, and in the car too. They will ask you when you're done. They will put you right in front of their camera, and they will ask you to stay there. Usually it's like at the trunk of your car or something. You'll stand there, and then the cops will walk away, and they'll pretend like they're talking. And sometimes they are talking. What they're really doing is they're getting some tape of you. They're getting some tape of you head on in front of the camera, so that, it's just all about evidence. It's all about behaving yourself. And if you are...
shutting up. I mean, really, you got to be
Shut
quiet.
up.
Shut up.
Don't give them evidence to convict you. That's why people say, I reserve my right to remain silent.
Do that.
Because if I don't, you're just going to use it against me. And that's the next sentence. Or the Miranda rights,
Yeah. A DUI stop got me laid one night.
Look at you, a positive DUI story.
Yes.
That's what we need more of.
This is a great story. This was before I got with my wife. When I was working in Plano, I met this girl at work and took her out for some drinks at the Dubliner one night. and I let her get smashed because I'm a creep like that. And
yeah, of course.
I had a few drinks, but just a couple, and I was actually on probation at the time, so I wasn't supposed to be drinking at all. But we're driving back to Plano, and I live in Denton at the time, still live in Denton, and I go through a yellow light. It's 2 a.m. Get pulled over. Cop pulls me out of the car. It's a female. She gives me the sobriety test. Apparently I passed it because she didn't even ask to do a breathalyzer. But she said, it's kind of late and you do look like you're kind of tired or whatever. So why don't you, after you drop her off, why don't you stop at a Waffle House or something, get some coffee before you drive back to Denton? As soon as she said that, the girl in my car, Erica, who I took on the date, she goes, "It's okay, officer. He can just come home with me."
That's how it works.
So I shook that cop's hand. I was like, "Thank you very much. You're the best cop ever."
I was waiting for you to tell me that the cop told you to meet her at the Waffle House. That's where I thought you were going. And I was
Dear
like,
Penthouse
bullshit.
Forum.
Yeah, bullshit. All right. Paco, anything in closing? Yeah. James. James Parker, it's probably about your bedtime, huh?
Yeah, it's about my bedtime. But everyone, think of how many times you have driven drunk. You have actually driven over the legal limit, 0.08. Is it hundreds? Is it above 1,000?
1,000, James, for me.
Yeah.
Me too, man. Me too. I can't crack down on drunk drivers that hard because I do it all the time.
I have said
this week.
This is America's dirty little secret.
Absolutely.
Everyone, judges, celebrities, rich people, poor people, everybody does it. And that doesn't excuse it. I'm not saying that like, well, it's okay because everybody does it. No, I'm saying it's a problem because everybody does it.
That's why I moved to Deep Ellum. I'm trying to cut back.
Me too.
What is the single most universal reality of alcohol consumption for probably 99% of those who consume it?
Excessive urination.
No. Although there's that. Impaired judgment.
Oh, yeah.
Impaired judgment. Yeah. Pugs, I give you huge props for using designated drivers or the limo. I'm telling you, I haven't had a drink in I had one with you a couple of years ago. Besides that, not in 7 years. Before that, the number of times, it's unfathomable to me. James is absolutely right. Unfathomable to me that I haven't been pulled over for drunk driving.
Can I tell you, I've not had that because when I was 16, I legitimately was in a drunk driving incident. I drove a car through a house when I was 16. That's what this big scar on my forehead is from. And I got away with it. I beat that one as well. That was a legitimate drunk driving incident that I got away with because the police screwed up on the chain of command with the blood. I was basically a cadaver at the scene, and they used blood they took at the scene to prove that I was drunk, and then it's a chain of command. Person who takes it, signs it, puts it in an envelope, hands it to somebody else, they sign it, they take it to the clerk stores it in evidence, they sign it. There was a missing signature on my thing. So I got away with it. But from that time when I was 16 years old, I knew how scary it was. I knew what an awful experience being put through the DUI ringer. At 16, they made me go to alcoholics classes, which is totally unfair. Just because I'm a 60-year-old and I get caught DUI, it doesn't make me an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So why am I sitting?
Makes you 16.
Why am I sitting in a church basement with a bunch of legendary alkies? They're scaring the shit out of me. I'm 16.
My name's.
I got my math teacher over here.
I guess.
Yeah, it's terrible. But that's the mechanism that has been created to sort of monetize the DUI world. This is a money-making thing. MAD figured that out a long time ago. And who's going to argue with it? Because you show, a poor, beautiful little angel girl who got killed by some lousy drunk. And, it's a hard thing to stand up and say, they're not always right. They're coming from a good place, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. But it's crazy. We need to stop holding people down and taking their blood because a judge in the back of some military mobile unit that the local police have brought out says hold him down and take his blood. That is not America. That is the furthest thing from America.
But they get so ramped up in their fervor that we can't allow all these procedural impediments to getting the bad guys that exist. But, those impediments exist for the very reason that, people will people will abuse a level of power. That's what a lot of the libertarian, as far as I understand it, a lot of the libertarian concerns about any bigger government or government of the size we currently have is dangerous. Because the bigger the government, the more likely it is to be abused. And I don't disagree with that on spec. I don't say that the government we have is by nature abusive, but it's just the abuse of power from MAD comes from their ability to influence politicians.
Yeah, it probably started in a good place, man. Hey, James Parker, thank you for joining us. We're going to wrap everything up. We're going to get out of here.
Thanks for having me.
Just play with
Hope
you.
you come back soon.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon, okay? James Parker from WRNO Radio in New Orleans. Rich Hancock from Rational Broadcasting, local politician and, liberal whippersnapper from way back. That's who Rich Hancock is.
Thanks, brother.
Stanton Brasher, Stanton, thank you.
Thank you, Bugs.
Thank you. And Paco, anything going on with you?
Nah, I have no dates booked.
No dates booked?
My calendar is
You're wide
lonely.
open.
Gonna go see Bill Burr next week at the Majestic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The greatest.
That's all I have to look forward to in comedy.
V, how about you? Thank you, V, for everything.
Yeah, no problem. I will say tomorrow night, 420, the Green Elephant or is it not tomorrow? Saturday. Sorry, Saturday night, 420, the big event, big party, and it's at the Green Elephant. Loyal Sally, who's playing right now. We played a couple of their songs. They're going to be there. The FNAs, lots of local groups that we have on our shows all the time. Drigby Shining, Manalippus, all those guys. So it's going to be a really good event.
It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
All right, 420 out there where?
At the Green Elephant on Lower Greenville area, Greenville Mockingbird.
It's normal, right?
It's a normal event. Yeah, DFW normal.
All right, very exciting. Tomorrow on the show, I'm expecting to do a show at noon. I don't know. We'll play that by ear. Hopefully, we're going to have my friend Joanne from Stratos coming by. Stratos, of course, a fine sponsor of HireAHero.org's PMS. Stratos located at Webb Chapel and Northwest Highway. ClubStratos.com online. Fantastic place. If you love Greek food, if you love Mediterranean food, if you just want something other than burgers and barbecue or Chinese, you can't do much better than Stratos. One of my absolute favorite places. Get the octopus. That's what I like. Stratos, ClubStratos.com. Conveniently located right there at Webb Chapel and Northwest Highway in Dallas. That's going to be it. We'll be back tomorrow. HireAHero.org presents PMS tomorrow at noon on DeepLMOnAir.com.